Welcome everyone to the PUBG Mobile PMCO here of the UK 2021 fall season. My name, of course, is Hannibal, joined by the one and only Professor Tarzan. But Tarzan, we also had a note to our sponsors, of course, Xiaomi, where you can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. And I think powerful is a statement here of a lot of surprising teams coming into these finals. I think I'm just going to get straight away started. And our note coming through from that group stage was 777 really stepping up.
I'd say stepping up, it's an understatement. They were pretty dominant. They've got 98 points, which, if you guys don't know, that amount of kill points were enough to get them qualified. That is absolutely insane. But so they are leading that chart with 160 points there. But there's one issue, though, Highland Wolf. They have a little bit of a downward trend. 65 points in the first day, 70 in the second, but only 25 in the third. So that may pose some concerns.
Some concerns here, but we made it to the finals, and we'll have a look at that format for the finals here as well, Tarzan, where it is going to be those 32 teams we saw in the group stage, but only 16 or 14, should I say, really in total here advanced to the finals, because of course we do have RESQ and Gaijin Seraphim. We'll get to them in a minute, but of course now that we are in our finals, you can see there 4 matches per day, 4 days of competition all through the rest of this week, and the winner of the finals goes straight to the PMPL Season 2 to join Lac Nostra MVP and also Nico Defense League there alongside all of the EU West teams. But as we said, not only 777 coming up, I think we also have to talk about a little bit of those points and how these teams really got it. Specifically, of course, as we do see 15 points per chicken dinner, 1 kill equals 1 point. But as we're used to that format, I'm going to use this time to really also hint at Team 1802, who also really ramped up on that leaderboard. I think Team 1802 they're probably the biggest surprise here for us.
I think so. They play very, very confidently. So they are at second place coming into the final. So they've got 146 points, 78 placement points, which is basically the third amongst all these teams, the highest being 82, with 68 points kill points. So I think they... I'm going to find a way to describe them, right? So they are basically, arguably, overall most consistent, but with a bit of an upward trend after day one as well. So I hope they can hold that position. I mean, they've got a bright future if they can continue playing that way.
Of course, we do look at that prize pool as well, Tarzan, and take a note, of course, not only that PMPL spots, but also that 4,000 big fat dollars that first team is going to get, but also 2,500 working our way all down to those $750 for that 16th position. Of course, every team who even didn't make it into these finals have already earned their $500, but unfortunately, they don't have that opportunity to earn more. That opportunity to get into the PMPL, that is, of course, what is the coveted prize out of everything. But I think, as we said, moving into these finals, I think also we have to note that we got these 2 new teams, and the rest are RESQ and Gaijin Seraphim, who I think are very different going to be coming into this fall season compared to that spring season.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about them one by one. Let's talk about Gaijin Seraphim first, because let's just start with some juice, right? We've got Lord and Adobo still in there. Their old teammates in that PMPL were Kosti and Prada, which couldn't make it to the finals this time, under the side of Excuse Me. So they are playing with a new roster with 2 additional members, to say the least. So Premix and Cronus, we actually seen them on stage before in some tournaments like the PMCC Campus Championship Europe West, as well as the PMNC. They're part of Team IND. So really is a huge question mark for me when it comes to synergy. And but when it comes to RESQ, they should be better in synergy. Like the roster is pretty much the same, but the issue is this, right? They were so dominant in the last PMCO, actually our champions in Spring Split, but going into PMPL, they struggled so much that they didn't even go to the finals.
not to the finals, but we do check out also that schedule. And I think, of course, when you look to the likes of RESQ, probably Erangel, we know to their massive first day games there in the spring split, but of course also Sanhok and Miramar are also here, just as standard throughout this entire PMCO UK Fall Split, Tarzan. I think, though, to be fair, as you mentioned, Gaijin not having product costly, of course, it did get eliminated in for Excuse Me, and I'm very surprised. I'm going to leave it on a little bit of a linger here because I think that considering Excuse Me not making that, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but we're going to head to a quick ad break before that, and we'll hype you all up with the action and the drama in a minute. Welcome everyone back here to the Pubg Mobile Club Open 2021 fall season. Of course, myself, Hand Wolf, and Professor Tarzan alongside us. And as we do already head over to a little bit more of the stats, Tarzan, I'm also interested, as we know from, of course, what we said off the break, was actually the fact that, yes, excuse me, not here, neither Most Wanted, neither also TRG Direction, all of these teams we expected. Instead, of course, we got some more surprises when it comes to the likes of KurdVictory making it. We've got the likes of Born for Victory here, as well as Arena51, who clinched that final spot. Just exactly 89 points, but we had the chicken dinner to see them through.
Well, it's extremely tricky, right? Like for some of these teams, it's really down to their last game to make it in here. So when we talk about those teams who really missed it, it could be any of those 8 games that they played that really crippled themselves. Like we heard different stories, to be fair. We heard about roster issues. We talked about, team synergy, like arguments, all those stuff is part of the game. And so for those who were just enough, like to hold their horses and just find that, make sure they deliver when it matters. Like we were down to those 1 or 2 points, right? So heartbreak for some of those, but we need to look forward. And we've got a very decent 16 teams here, and we are so ready for our game when Erangel, man, it's good to be back.
Already Erangel, of course, our sponsor. Once again, enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G, Tarzan. And also, as we land through this first playing path of the PMCO PUBG Mobile Club Open UK Finals, I am excited to see what these teams can bring. And I think we obviously noted as well the fact that, yes, some of these surprising teams, of course, like Arena51, barely making it. I think we note back to that final game, as you said. I believe there was 9 teams we mentioned who could have made it in that last match to these finals. But here we are with our 16. And they've got to prove themselves, I think, especially coming into this first day, that they aren't just scraping it to these finals, that they can make it and they can be able to be worthy of competing for that title.
Exactly. So we talk about, fights and all that stuff that we can obviously see on the screen. There's so much work behind the screen, though, that we like talking about. But first off, let's talk about playing path from Primos to basically Savernia, should I say Stalber. So it still add a lot of pressure for some of these teams, especially for those who love going to around Mansion, prison area. We know Milta can be quite hot, and we know Triple's definitely heading towards Farm. So we'll continue with that point, right? So when it comes to preparation, they will be playing against the same 16 teams for 16 games. Like that is a different sort of preparation we're talking about. We had enough games for them to study, so it's now to really show that off, right? Maybe at places that we couldn't see, but with this playing path, should I say, phase 1 circle, going to that southeastern side, that is going to test them once again. I always love talking about this, right? Like hard circles means like harder rotation, which means you can show your particular style and color. This time around, Syrax having a bit of a change, dropping on top of Saverny against another team.
Ah, man, but not any other team, though, against Gaijin, who we've not seen all tournament. Of course, it is a different Gaijin, as you said. Logan and also Premixed are here to join up. I believe Premixed also was part of the substitutes here for Gaijin Seraphim in spring, but never got that chance to play. I think that also Cronus as well coming in here and Lord being those real long-standard players. However, that's also what I'm looking forward to, because I want to see how the veteranship of this squad comes in with also the new players, and inside if their fighting can be as aggressive, or it can be as crazy as what we saw in the springs, albeit I think at times reckless, and that's something we have seen from Gaijin in the past.
Yeah, I think talking about experience is one really interesting things to talk about on paper. The other thing on paper that we can talk about would be, I completely lost my point there. I was going to say something. Help me, someone help me. No one can really help me.
Oh no, he's got a case of the forgetting us.
No, I got it right there. So it's about playtime. So like the condition of the team, obviously many of these players on Syrax Esports been playing at least 2 to 3 tournaments straight, and we've had the pleasure to cast most of them. On the side of Gaijin, though, I feel like most of the players have mostly played like 1 to two, like 1 to 2 tournaments is like half of the roster. So with the questions that we asked earlier when it comes to synergy, that will be another thing to add on, right? So 3 things on paper here. We talk about experience, we talk about, synergy, and we talk about recent appearance, because after all, experience on the stage is completely different. Like, we know a lot of good players in the past who cannot withstand that pressure, right? So when you have more showing, it can definitely help your growth.
And Syrax as well, coming through in here into the tournament. I think, honestly, another one of those surprises, but I don't think that Syrax really wanted the good surprises. I think they were more the scary surprises, because Syrax, it did come down to their last game to get those points. And I think we could have also seen a world where Syrax weren't also playing in this tournament, in these finals. And I think, yes, they have obviously the experience coming through from the PUBG Mobile National Championship in the UK just a couple of weeks ago. We've also had now a chance to prove themselves with the group stage, but I think we have had to see now coming into the finals some improvement from them, and I think it has been to the deficit that a lot of these newer squads, as we mentioned, like Spill, like Wizard Esports, also stepping up and pushing Syrax down.
Yeah, but I think when we talk about some of these teams, right, Wizard Esports, they definitely are a confident team, right? But I don't think I can really put the word consistent when it comes to their descriptions, right? And like, if we're talking about consistent, to be fair, in the history of PMCO UK, I have to mention RESQ. But like, after their shaky performance in PMPL, I don't know how they're doing. Like, I'm just waiting to be shown like how this game needs to be played. Like, and I always have that thing in my head thinking, have we improved as a region after season 1, right? Like, also, should I say, Spring Split? So if RESQ are on par with how they were and they can win, maybe is a sad sign, I'd say, for me, because I really want to see the UK scene grow, and progress. And, we need to find out right now. Like, after all, some of these teams are still in the looting phase. I think compared to some other regions of Pro League, this is considered quite slow. A lot of those pro teams, I would say, in Pro League would rather not touch the blue. Like, if they do, it would be something that can be healed back with maybe an energy drink. So this is going to be a bit of a test, and Syrax better know how to capitalize on this, because they were close to the zone, they were further away from that edge, from that coastal line. They can really set a trap right here. So I hope that's what they're trying to do. And with this is extremely disrespectful. Like, Gaijin is man, like, that
I don't know what happened.
No.
I mean, we talked about wanting to see improvement, but you see a player like that, Tarzan, it's just a dagger in the heart, quite frankly. But you see 3 members, you know there was a team around you, and you still decide to go in and cheat. I mean, Gaijin, we expected big things coming into the finals, considering they were an invited team here. But Syrax, with their performance and with their growth through the group stage to at least get here, they prove why at least they deserve to be here.
I think there's one way for Gaijin to have prepped that, though, right? Like, when you know there is a team that is, close by, with both of the teams needing to go south, you need to dedicate at least one person to be on a particular roof to track if anyone's left the city. If the answer is no, then however you want to rotate out, need to include an opening to maybe get you some kills, okay, or relieve some pressure, or just go for wider rotation, right? But because they didn't do that, they just rotated straight out, not even a wider one, right? Just straight out of Zaverni, and that is pretty disrespectful, I would say, and that's definitely so punishable, and they got punished for it.
I mean, to be fair, I'd actually argue, I mean, I'm not going to go too harsh here, but it was pretty amateur to watch that, considering that Gaijin Seraphim as well were an ex-PMPL team. And I think you, of course, need to see them improve. And yes, it's going to be difficult as a solo. Maybe we can still grab those points in. I mean, we've seen it before, right? I mean, you look also back to the group stage, you see back to those 2 games that Costi was able to bring mega points over to Gaijin in that first day around those Sanhok Erangel match. Even though they played as a solo, they just sneaked their way in and relied on those placement points, but of course it wasn't enough for them. We'll have to see if Gaijin Seraphim can try relieve some of that pressure by doing the same. However, I also think that despite all of these scores that we've mentioned before, also another surprise was Spill, and Spill being one of these really strong Erangel teams. However, I do have to hold my tongue here because 1802, they decided to try go in, but for victory, already going to try take one down, and unfortunately, Luvco going to drop, and already going to be a 1-for-1 trade on Nox, but it's a first through from Knight. Jimmy in the backside should be confirmed through. Yes, they will, and there comes the trade. Cute will grab it. Now Knight is only on their own, going to be run over, and Cute will grab himself the second.
Man, like that is 1802. I did mention earlier, I think they're probably the most consistent team overall, and but they are against one of the most aggressive squads, like Born for Victory. Yes, they are, should I say, on par when it comes to aggression with other teams, but I would just... I have that impression because they've got so many more kill points compared to placement points. Like they've got, let me quickly check, like 43 placement points, 67 kill points. We've got that impression of them like very early on. And it's something for them to fix, really. Like sometimes you do worry if a team struggle in getting placement points, then it's very hard to put a good context for those aggression, right? I think that is where that thin line really comes in and team need to think. But this time around, test number 2, right? We've got that southeastern circle, not only towards that side, but we've got roughly 40% water as well. And of course, some teams can be really allowed to play really slow there on the southern side because Novo is still in play. And I think I wouldn't live to see a day for a circle like this that really ends on the southern side. Like that would be pretty insane.
Thunderstrike Cure as well. Another one of those shockers, Tarzan. I think they're barely almost getting knocked out, but they were able to survive. And I think TSC Legends, another one of those squads who, yes, were the veterans, but now need to be back onto par with where they were on Spring Split. And I think this is something that we know around that change from Spring to Fall, was actually the improvement does not come from those teams that we expected it to come from. Yeah. And as we said, Spill, obviously I want to head back to them about winning half of those Erangel matches that they realistically played as well. But on top of the fact that they're also TSC Legends, struggling on Erangel comparison to the fact that TSC Legends, when we look back at Spring Split, were that Erangel team.
I believe so, yeah, but of course we've got some roster changes coming through, right? So I think the important thing here to talk about would be TSC Legends playing better and better through this tournament. Like the day one, they've got around 25 points, I would say. Then they go up to around the mid-30s, then 61 points in that last day. So with the upward trend, so momentum, we want to see them continue with that. And of course, they've got experienced players in there. Buja, one of the most experienced players ever, you know, when it comes to UK scene, probably his 4th PMCO now. And we really compare that squad against Triple when it comes to abilities to take huge gains. But you know what? After all, when it comes to overall consistency and, you know, really playing at the level that we expect them to, after all, that would be Conqueror UK right here. Like Conqueror UK were playing better and better. I love the way they play and almost exponential improvements point-wise. So can they continue? Like that would be the question.
Conqueror, one of those eyes that we're really keeping on focus to this squad, because I think that they are one of these dangerous teams. If you give them that inch, they can take that mile, but also we've yet to see them really, I think, be wholly consistent throughout this tournament. So I think coming out into the finals, we do have to obviously prepare and see, can actually Conqueror be that consistent squad each day out? Because getting to that top, there's no longer, mind here, Tarzan, 3 spots for that PMPL from PMCO UK. You are only going to get there if you take that first place prize. And of course, a team like Triple Sports Club, who have been moving through so many of these tournaments, did not make it in the PMNC to the top, got stolen, of course, by NDL, but then now coming back into the PMCO, they too needing to show that improvement and needing to show that consistency to be able to make it in the finals.
And exactly that. And this circle is exactly what I want to see. Because I think it's too long now, like since the history of this esport, for people to not know Shelter and the Lumberyard. Like they are extremely strong. Those huge rocks, the layers to it. Like teams probably should have a almost textbook and fix formation around those areas and almost a very fixed way to scout at them as well, like knowing which particular dip is strong and all that. And this time around, Triple Sports Club already in the area and can maybe split in a different way after this new shift, new circle, and they can really funnel some of these teams like to other places. We know how they can play some splits and be able to capitalize on that. So it's going to get more and more congested, I'm not going to lie, and I love it. I love Lumberyard so much, and I think it's a really proper test to the knowledge of the players.
But can they realistically take that control? I mean, to be actually fair, I just feel like a little bit like I've stolen your spot here. Just that I am feeling really harsh tonight. I'm just going to say it, Tarzan. But I'm looking for that serious improvement. I want to see that final representative who gets into the PMPL to be worth it, right? And it's because definitely. I care. That definitely, if we're going to send 3 representatives once more, we have to make sure that those representatives are worth their money. And of course, there's also Team Savage, another one of those squads who didn't make it in the PMNC. And I think was surprising because not only were they one of the favorites to make it in that PMNC, but also I think were one of the favorites to make it in the PMCO. I was very impressed, actually, though, by their group stage performance in the way that Team Savage were playing.
You know what? Like, it was really surprising for me. It's a very pleasant comfort and surprise. And man, 85 placement points, I believe. 84 is the actual figure. Put them at first place when it comes to placement points. But when we look at the trend, though, like through the 3 days of group stage play, it's 59 points, then 38, then 38 again. So, like, they do really struggle to close those games out, though. There's just one of those teams kind of in that top segment of the leaderboard who hasn't got a chicken dinner yet. So there's end game pressure, and choking might be an issue that they still need to fix.
But if they've improved on that, and they do actually come into this finals and can close these matches out, I'm looking at probably Team Savage as one of those contenders to win, because they have excellent ways to actually get into those good positions consistently when it comes to that mid to end game stage of the games, Tarzan. And that is what you want to see from a team when it comes to more in positioning. They've got the hard part down. It's just, I feel that when it comes to that action, when it comes to being that little bit more aggressive and keeping your position, that strength that you've already put for yourself forward, they need to try to work on that. And I think that it definitely comes down to their activity when it comes to those late games, playing a little bit too passively. And as you said, letting so many people on top of them to the point where we can't realistically control so much anymore.
Well, you know what? They need to show it now. Like, we talk too much in a way, like when it comes to these things, like, because
TSC Legends as well.
This side.
Also, going to continue to move in here is they do look to take down Team Savage, and now Rupo already going to be down, and now Shadow should be next. Paraboy is in the zone, but where will he go? Shadow now going to be down, as we said, already 2 dead for Team Savage and TSC Legends. They take the victory, and they will take 2 kills for now. In the fight, they look towards the next Wizard Tower, though, and iron up Paraboy. Paraboy is next on the menu, but also here comes Dessert from Triple Esports, also inside that zone, but TSC Legends, they have to fight to get inside of that zone. And they need to be able to continue to push here. Phase 4, of course, is there behind them. And also Triple continuing there to also struggle as their 777 bypass them, overtake them, and now they gatekeep Triple Esports inside, but they lose a knock. But already Triple Reznov is down and dead.
I feel like Resnov's dying more than we expect them to. Kind of a little bit early as well. Like, but you know, this circle going to that western side is very interesting. I think the knowledge of the Lumberyard and Southern Shelter is still extremely important. We see so many teams out on the eastern side needing to find a way in. So my question is, how do these teams hold that position better as we see Team Savage getting eliminated first? And we talk about momentum. I always suspected that they have this performance so far because they entered in the PMCO UK with some decent early games. And they started kind of the PMNC on a rough note. Will this be history repeating itself? I really hope it doesn't, because I want to see that plasticity and the ability to bounce back. But after all, you really know that. Like, you really know right on screen that the game tells you you are dead last at 16. That itself is a huge challenge.
I think it's going to be mentally a challenge for Team Savage to step up because, of course, we said they were one of the favourites to win it, really coming into here when it came to the finals, but also here, one of the favourites who won it all. Last time, RESQ stepping up with their aggression, the exact same players, and have already grabbed themselves a double when against example UK, Kindboy is on his own. Yes, Rekka is still alive, but Rekka was nowhere near him when it comes to the late game portions of this game. Kindboy will be driven over, and Tick will confirm the next. Tick going to continue to confirm their third of the match. And when you think towards RESQ, we said Erangel was really their style of map, but also the fact that RESQ, they are one of these very aggressive teams, and they are here, I think, the best out of both Gaijin and RESQ to actually be able to match playstyle-wise what we've seen so far in the group stage of PMCO UK, where it has been that reckless aggression.
Yeah, I think RESQ, like in my memory, they are the best in playing that really good edge style, then transitioning into power position in around phases 5 or 4 or 5, like, and that will be maybe what they're doing now. But they are slowly maybe sweeping onto the side. But this time around, it could be this type of stalemate, like 4-way stalemate that would choke all these teams out on that eastern side. Like, it's not an easy circle to play. You don't have a lot of spots. You need to know the rocks and dips, but so many teams still yet to rotate. 15 seconds remaining before the shift.
Unfortunately, TSC Legends, they may look like they lose another. Is now they are stuck inside that Wizard Tower. Bujo Jaja still to come downstairs, but inside the Wizard Tower, they're home. Danoka only takes another, forces him outside. Does look to cook that nade over the top. A little bit of a tap would do it. Goes a little bit wide, and so now the Tony should be able to find a revive in Danoka. I feel like, of course, you could push this, but I gain understanding that there are a lot of players around him. Danoka being wise and being patient.
And here comes a crash as well. That's going to the point of contention because it's on that edge. That will be still trying to come in, but the entry won't be quite there, and stuck on the car as well.
Stuck on a car, spill. Down 3 players are being watered, have been hosed away by TSC Legends. Bujo takes it away and now decimates through this final members of Spill, as well as now Conqueror UK. Unfortunately, Danoka left on their own, left in an island. He's got a full squad behind him. Of course, can hear all the shots. Now Jaja will join up, makes it even more impossible. Cooks a grenade, maybe tries to go from one window to the next. Will he be able to smash it on top? No, he won't. It goes a bit wide. It bounces back into Danoka's face, damages him, and now he's got to heal. And TSC Legends are where there is a player around.
And that's a great time for Danoka to get out. Like, to be fair, I was so scared for him, having his back completely exposed. Like, he's playing that 1-3 against this team, and that is going to be his team needing to come through. And we talk about tighten up formations. That is the time to do that. And Arena51 won't be able to make it further. I mean, like, they were so close from getting eliminated. But this time around, Danoka needs to use that card to come in because his team really needs him in this main building.
Oh, they need him plenty. Now Ari as well can afford Conqueror. They just can't hold with only 3 players in Triple Esports. They know it. They know exactly what they need to do when they take down 2. That now third confirmed through Naz. Yes, did get knocked, but they make that revive. Snowboy, the only one remaining. And Snowboy, I do believe, is the only one left alive. Danoka did get knocked on that journey downstairs to the rest of his team, and now Septives overlooks the rest of his hillside as TSC Legends, all of that fighting. They maybe have left it a little bit too long. Jaja confirmed by Prince in the kill feed, and Triple Sports Club, they get the zone. Phase 5 shifts back towards them.
And I think it's important. The fact that this building is in means whoever's winning this can really stay here, maybe make it to top 5. But if they draw this out even longer, there could be crashes coming in from multiple sides. So that is going to be a lot of weak side to be aware of, and make sure they don't lose HP. Not even a shot on the toenail, like from that long range, but this fight will continue.
And Danoka, they did get themselves back alive, but Snowboy, where's his team? He starts to try and find the shots. He does grab it. Triple down. Danoka comes in clutch, and Snowboy carries it away. Conqueror with the final 2 members take down Triple Sports Club. But of course, you said, whoever controls this compound, whoever controls this building, Tarzan, they are the ones who can easily make it inside, and exactly demonstrated by Danoka once more. Cute gets eliminated. Born for victory as well. Gonna fall. 4 kills already for Conqueror. We are a duo. 1802. A duo as well. Closer inside the zone. They sneak away to further point building. Still, there are teams to make it further inside. RESQ still to make it down the hill across the road. And concerns for them, Tarzan, because that is a completely open path towards those houses.
Very, very hard. They need to use this person to scout, or as a bait, basically, to get an opening, to get a way in. Not going to be easy at all, though. RESQ actually used that Overwatch and made so much work done. That was almost not a knock, but Hyper got into proximity and now take these to make sure he takes the 1v2. That will be one. We'll need to do it again.
Take the star of RESQ in the spring split. Now stepping up, confirms away Snowboy. A second knock though, because Uncle are here to play, but Tick takes down Snowboy as well. And with that, it's only gonna be the entirety of Uncle's now eliminated. I do believe also there the entirety of Conqueror UK. RESQ do make the revives happen. Danoka is still alive, pardon, so it is still a solo player of Conqueror, but against all 3 players of RESQ, it is going to be difficult. I think with Danoka, they did have an opportunity though. If they'd been a little bit more aggressive, Tarzan, they maybe could have taken those knocks from behind.
Tricky one. You know what, I feel like RESQ coming in here not getting punished is because there are multiple teams worrying about losing the position itself, that they don't want to peak. And I think that makes complete sense, right? But for this circle, a lot of them will not need to move quite a lot, but that will be Prince needing to come in. After all, Syrax delivered decently, though. Pubg finishes the job. We are down to 4 teams on average, like 2 players per team. But to be fair, it's a trio. For the start of RESQ, already 10 kills on board.
TSC Legends, though, stepping up as well, 10 kills. This feels like we're watching Spring Split, Tarzan. We got the 2 teams we thought would do well. Our 2 picks from Spring coming back and stepping up in his first game. Both 10 kills, but RESQ, they have the most members, crucially, but they are outside of zone. So Team 1802, a lot of work to do. Can he defend?
Man, just need to really gut multiple angles, and that is really just a textbook thing to do for RESQ, to clear that building first. The synergy is still there. The zone is pretty slow though, so it will be about using that utility. I think the key thing to talk about here is how to use those utilities. You want it to be aggressive smoke, but after all, that balcony is just too strong. Like, it doesn't matter what smoke path you make, is best to have one straight onto the balcony, choke out that sight line instead of using that many smokes. So that could be a little bit of a mistake in my honest opinion. So many utilities used that can still be useful for that endgame.
But the smokes are disappearing, Tarzan. Look at them dissipate even more, having to be deployed as you do make that revive. However, Jack does have to be very aware of the fact that TSC Legends, they are still coming down. They are still inside the zone, as they too have that potential to take this game away if they can just continue to have that high ground. And Hyper with the nade on top of Jack. Now it's only going to be a solo of 1802, and they know it. Hyper moving in, the rest of RESQ moving in and trying to make that revive. You got to be quick. Go Hyper, trying to find that nade on top, trying to cook it through the window, then put it down in front of him, but a door blocks it. That is crucial. It's Jack now back into the fight. Bunzet is well alive. Steps downstairs. Only going to be Jack getting knocked again. Hyper looking to finish what he started. Going into the garage. Finds him. Goes for the knock. Gets it. At 1802 down. 13 kills for RESQ. All 3 players alive in TSC Legends. Now it's their turn, but they get the zone. RESQ, they're not done just quite yet.
That's the RESQ that we all miss. They are playing so well. That is the really crisp style. Like, when they needed to deliver, they did. But you know what? Bujo said, what's not finished last season, we are going to continue right here. They were angry for having that spot taken away last season. And these teams are definitely going to be down for this crazy rematch. 2v3 right now with the relative high ground going on the side of TSC. RESQ, though, know really how to use some of these players to bait and get an opening. But that smoke is not going to help a lot when it comes to the higher up that ridge.
Fourth and Spring, Tarzan. They want it. You can feel it already. Of course, 10 kills for them. Yes, they had the zone, but we need to defend. Can RESQ really do it? Because they've already used so much utility to take down 1802. Blood now knocks. The grenade finds it. Hyper as well tries to fire back, but it's so hard to come up top of the hill when Vitoni has such a beautiful angle on top. They can see everyone. Blood gets confirmed. Vitoni has the prime position. It's zone gifted away to the Eagles. RESQ, I don't feel that there's anything they can really do. I mean, now those smokes up on the front line do fall down. It did find Bujo, however, but Hyper's now dead. Vitoni grabs themselves a second, takes down Tick. Vitoni with the OP power position steals the show. And TSC Legends also getting themselves up 8 kills though for Vitoni. Massive game for him.
Massive game for both teams. And you know what?
Yeah.
I think that is what we expect from RESQ. Then you can see we can still pick something out of that when we talk about using of those utilities and how to really get in. If there's really one term there, it is aggressive smokes. That's it. Some of these positions were too OP, and they were not able to break it through first time if it weren't for Hyper's really good nade onto Jack Jet on that rooftop. And but after that, man, it's just so hard. Like sometimes these smokes is an art form, right? Using it in the way that you can sometimes even just see through it just enough if you've got an Overwatch, you know, that's just one OP position. If someone can threat a nade in there, that would be the opening that they needed. But after all, what a great day, a great way, should I say, to start today.
Great way to have a look at these match standings as well, Tarzan, as we see exactly how many points they got. Of course, 28, 26 points for them. TSC, of course, ahead, considering they did grab those 15 placement points and that chicken dinner. But also, as we potentially expected here, Team 1802 up in third position, 16 points for them. And I do believe a little bit of a rise here for Syrax and Conqueror, also fourth and fifth.
Brilliant work there. Like, to be fair, that's what we expect from a team like that, with basically the experience not just from previous seasons but also through this split, right? They've been well warmed up like on the official stage, but we do worry for the Syrax 777 Esports, and maybe even more so for Team Savage. Like two teams who have shown some difficulty if they don't have that hype and that momentum to start off with. Like we talk about that hype house effect, and I think Team Savage and like 777 Esports both fall under that category in a way. I think the Syrax 777 might be a little bit more prone to that type of mentality, but otherwise it's just really hard to predict after all. Like, and we can see that Arena51, they were doing better and better, but after all, there's just one game out of 16. There's still many games for them to redeem themselves.
Of course, but we only have now, of course, fell down in that first game, got a question of mentality coming through onto Sanhok, as we will see them and try to see and explain how they will come back onto Sanhok after a little break. Welcome everyone back to the Pubg Mobile Club Open UK 2021 Fall Split. Of course, my name Han will join by, as always, Professor Tarzan, and as well a word to our sponsor Nemo TV, the official media partner of the Pubg Mobile Pro League in 2021 season. And of course, we've already had one game as well of these finals, Tarzan. We're now on to Sanhok soon, but what has been, I think, a very strong performance through from RESQ and, of course, TSC Legends, the favourites that we came in from spring, stepping up once more in the fall.
Yeah, and I love how they play. Just as simple as that. Yes, there were things that we were still, picking on that is quite obvious. So it's not that hard to fix. It takes one guy to pick up that idea and say that in comms, right? And that can really come through. At least when it comes to macro sense of things, playing off certain positions and crash mechanics with Overwatch, those things are there, and they set a good example. I think they really deserved their win in the spring split, and they're glad to have them back for sure. Gaijin, on the other hand, needed to fix some things. I think it was clear enough on screen. We're not going to go too deep into that. I don't think.
Be careful.
Yeah, but you know what? This game too, obviously different. We talk about Sanhok, how tricky it can be, how predictable it can be if teams stick with their drop locations, because it's quite a small map. Most people can do that. So I wonder, right, whether that would give a little bit more advantage to the sort of Gaijin and the RESQ, because they can spend all those past days watching these games and really breaking it down, not worrying about playing it. All those time can go into the preparation. So yeah, we need to see the answers by the way that they play.
To be fair, I did actually see, and you look back towards the spring split, of some crazy plays coming through from Gaijin. Just no more Jeeps. No more Jeeps, please, coming after that first game. I don't want to see anything of that early on. I think, though, to be fair, that we also saw a lot of improvement and a lot of consistency already from that first game from the group stage, from the rest of Team 1802. As we mentioned, Syrax as well stepping up. I think that these teams as well, as we mentioned, those two to really watch. And yes, we have to look at how they can consistently play through Sanhok, Miramar, Erangel later today. But I'm more surprised as well about stepping up for the likes of Team Savage, because they were that other team that were in that top part of the leaderboard from groups, but 16th position in the first game.
I mean, we could see what they were trying to do, right? They rotated past several positions that can be considered very decent, and they went for some more points with elevation. They went for some decently big split. I think is to think about setting up is very important. You have a 2-2 split, you need to think why, and you always need to consider support. What if? The what if is extremely important. So I think before they came up with the plan, the what if situation, they got crashed within 30 seconds, and they just lost the spot bit by bit. And those are those things. And sometimes the thinking are there, the execution needs practice and a lot of efficiency. I think that is always the hard thing to do. Retrospectively with boss and all that is always easier, but man, if you want to hold on to top spots, and when we hype you back up after somewhat poorly performed tournament in PMNC, then you really need to deserve that place. So I hope they learned something. They've still got many games to prove themselves, though.
Still 50 more games to come from them, but as we said, only one team can make it to the PMPL, so every game really does matter here. If you're losing out on those points, there's no real room for a second or third place. You've got to make those points back somewhere else. Considering how big a games we've already had from RESQ, TSC Legends, if those teams, of course, 1802, the likes of them as well, step up, Conqueror and Syrax, as we said as well, in these next series of games, it makes it very hard for a team like Savage to try and make those points back, unless they also grab those 25, 30-point games consistently.
Yep. And you know what? Everything is on paper. I think that is the fun thing, right? We do our maths, we do our preparation, we talk to players, DMs or whatnot. And then when you come in, everything's just out of the window. You can't predict it at all. And from what we know as well, sometimes we have some small, issues when it comes to connection, all that stuff. We don't ever know the whole story, mic bug and all that stuff. So it's part of the deal, and it's extremely unfortunate if anyone experienced with that. Like, we feel extremely unfortunate as well when sometimes on the production side we've got some like small hiccups here and there. I think it's about how you like cope with it when it actually happens. So like, we just are on the same boat, from if I do say so myself. So we're just waiting for that game to like really just, man, I think it's going to be extremely juicy, and that bounce back mentality from two squads in particular, we should look out for 777 Esports as well as Team Savage. Let's see whether they can do better than we expect them to, because they want to really break that curse when it comes to being stuck in that downward spiral.
But also, to be fair, Tarzan, that when you look back to Sanhok was probably the most needed to improve map for a lot of these squads. I mean, I'm not going to go onto the int train and say what we saw in the group stage was pretty impressive, but I need to see something from these squads, and I think that we need to come into finals. Yes, it's only going to be 4 Sanhoks, but that's still 25% of your games. You still need to be able to perform there, and that's something that I need to see from a lot, as we said. However, I think that we can, when we start to see those improvements, we see a lot, and I think a real big game is through from these teams when it comes to these points. However, we have said we're going to head into that second game. Sanhok it is, and of course we have to mention our beautiful sponsor here as well, Tarzan, no other than Xiaomi, where you too can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G.
Well, amazing map, amazing playing path. That means it's an amazing test of how they've done their research. Obviously, it looks like that we don't see the path completely, but it's kind of down the middle, like horizontally. Nope, that is vertically. I need to go back to school and learn, but all the way down from the middle, top to bottom. So let's see that drop distribution, because I think we mentioned it before as well, right? Especially when it comes to Erangel, you play like 8 games of Erangel out of 16 against the same 15 other teams. You better have a good way to play. You better have done your homework. And this time around, like, without some of these teams in here, we can see that eastern half actually are incredibly empty. So I don't know, like, I feel like some of the adaptations haven't completely come through yet, but one thing that is already extremely juicy, other than a Northwest Circle, is Hartin having triple esports as well as triple sports club in there, and is a rematch.
To be fair though, 777, they've do ones who came out on top last time, albeit it wasn't clean though. The fact that Triple almost taking that game from them. Also, unfortunately, TSC Legends taking it up against Example UK. And Example, they're a little bit hungry. He already one knock, 1 kill for them. However, they should lose Naka if there's not going to be a defense. Naka, you best be careful. Euphoria is searching, but Tony also fairly low. Euphoria trying to find a shot, barely doesn't find a knock in a match up like that in a 1v1 where Reko now gets to heal. I think is one of those crucial points in the fight, because Bujo coming around the backside really needed that knocked player, and now they can't really find that 1v1. It turns into 1v2, potentially 1v3 with Naka coming back.
Kindboy though, like Kindboy's going for a flank as well, so it will be about the battle of the off angles. Maybe it's like Bujo on one side and the other one on the backside of TSC. Really patient, though, is exactly how we expect them to, and I think it's down to TSC to deliver, because they pulled away from boot camp. They better make this count.
And Bujo gets that knock. That was crucial, and Bujo's taking up first means that now he can start to push forward. And those other two members also don't have to worry about Kindboy, because they're now Kindboy on the wrong side of the fight once more, as TSC Legends do take that confirmed knock. Naka records so low, Kindboy has had a little bit of time to walk around, and they're fine, but Tony will confirm the Tony down. It's again a 1-for-1 trade. TSC though, they're only 1 kill up. They need to try find those confirms through. Naka is still alive.
Man, this is really, really close. I think is another type of rematch that we can see, but you can see both teams having some really good thoughts, like some really decent game sense in thinking about off angle and flanks and like baiting of shots. But after all, that will be Example UK with the early aggression and with the advantage as well. And it's no wonder, to be fair, like they've had this tendency like for a very long time now to be one of the strongest teams when it comes to confidence in early gameplay as well. But Pubg with his experience and now the really crazy almost 180 degree split and pinch, that could really work out for TSC Legends.
Already Pubg, they find another record now, going to be knocked Naka so low, but the bullets, they're not sneaking down on Naka, and now Naka looks to try turn it, but of course it is going to be a pincer through from Euphoria. However, Pubg now goes with the med kit, they're back up healthy. Naka, not so much. There is no healing. He has to pull off that miracle 1v2, but it's not there. Naka now gets knocked. Pubg will confirm it. There is also Euphoria. And I do believe that final example UK, man, they're going to be running for those hills because they do not want to fall out again early on.
It's tricky, right? Like TSC, I don't know where Kindboy has been. It's crazy how he has not been part of the fight at all, right? And but on the other hand, though, like TSC Legends were playing like there's no off angle that could be a threat to them. So it's a very weird one to talk about. But this time around, 1802 will be tested against the side of Arena51. Arena51 can't go even lower down right now, but they bounced back okay after day one. But to go against a very decent squad early game in game 2 after a 0-point game, this is where they limit test.
It's just already Arena51 down 3 players, so Demon is the only one remaining. And there goes the entirety of them. Just disaster again from Arena51. I think that, yes, of course, it was going to always be a struggle being that last place team coming into the finals, but also looks like a little bit of a struggle here for 777 and Triple. And that 777 getting deleted. There goes another though, back in from Septives. Now going to fall down. Boss as well. Going to find that confirm. Naz does look for the grenade. Also, Boss looking for something similar, though. Who's going to cook it up first? Gate on into Boss, but it goes wide. Unfortunately, Boss will not get blown up. A missed opportunity now. Triple, they had to go in by hand. Finished the dirty work that they started. Boss behind the door is getting pinned at all 3 locations once again. Triangulation, deletion from now Naz as it will take Trest or 777 down to a solo. And Triple will win out the fight this time around.
Man, like, and they expect this one as well, right? Like last time, I feel like Triple Esports just didn't get 777 Esports didn't get punished like last time around, but this time is going to be Triple Sports Club with the upper hand. But that is going to be, you know, a little bit of a slip coming through as well. Londa can't one off guard, but will have nowhere to really want to get inside, but we've got basically no health.
Londa almost looked like they could pull off something beautiful, but Albi don't go down. Septimus there to cover 777 Esports. Unfortunate for them because they only picked up, of course, 4 points in that previous game, Tarzan. So being down only 1 point this game as well, you really wonder. Now also coming from the top, Triple, they looked so good in group stage, not so much anymore in these first 2 games. A little bit of first game blues. It's 1802, not quite finished yet. They also have that third party, Uncle's entering in. I would love to also look at that blue zone because of course we are heading into that phase 2, and depending on where it has gone, Tarzan, depends on how pinched these players will have to be.
Yep, and of course, like we've got a little bit of water in play, might still be what it seems like. So some good scouting is still part of the game on this map, very, very important. And that fight is tricky. I say tricky in the sense that 777 Esports were so strong in group stage, and now they gone back to not only did they have like a mediocre game, they fell early in this in a rematch against another team, right? And so I really want to see whether they will come back to fight them again in tomorrow's Sanhok game. We only got 4. We've got 1 per day in these 4 days of finals. To not take the fight would make you feel like it's an ego thing, right? It's like you feel like you're running away from stuff. It doesn't feel good. But to come back and not be able to do it once more might be a huge emotional stress. But this time round, BeWolfie was ready. They want to open with that one, but will be traded instead.
Team Savage and just going to lose another. Yes, they find 1 point. They will find also that revive. Shadow should be back. But Born for Victory, it again comes down to this early game push for points. And Born for Victory, also low when it comes to those points. Of course, keep in mind, they got knocked away by RESQ. Their first few points of the first game. They do take through one straight back onto Rupo. And now that Molly, not going to be enough with the help of that fire through from Abby to confirm the knock. But Rupo was separated. Look at the rest of those Born for Victory members. They're rotating round the backside Tarzan because they know that if they can catch now that angle to the revive off and unguarded by Team Savage, but he can find then that second knock. Abby also there going to confirm it either way. And now from the back end, they try to wrap around even further, but it's still a 3-on-3.
Man, you know what? Like, Born for Victory is one of those teams in the handful of the UK teams who would go for that type of rotation so quickly, like staying out of it and going for a flank. But the side of Team Savage is one of those teams who you could punish most, who are most vulnerable in this type of situation. They want to feel set up, they want to be in control, but when it's so unexpected, they seem to like lack the ability to react to it. Like, especially in these neutral fights, that will be B4V actually like executing what seems to be a hard fight to start with, like the 3v4, and now taking the second into the pocket.
Born for Victory, though, of course, the advantage to them in this compound, Tarzan, is the fact that Team Savage, they split themselves in one person per building. And now, as a result, those buildings actually act as a shield for B4V, because you can see that when you try to go in for that push, you make it quick, you make it sudden. There's no time for Team Savage to reposition and then come back together, 2-man in that far building to UV. So they grab themselves that second kill. But now it becomes a little bit harder. They have to cross the road. They really need those smokes. They need some again form of flank. But Yuvi and Shadow, they know exactly where they are, and it comes again down to the fact that Shadow also revived at the start of this fight. Crucial, but will that be worth their salt? Here is now Yuvi stepping further forward, and Jimmy is a 2v1 situation, and the pre-fire does find one. They walk straight into it, but Hilu takes them down either way. Now it switches once more. They can see Shadow. The third person peeks there. They find it and execute Shadow down straight into the hearts, and Born for Victory eliminate Team Savage once more in the early game.
Clean. That is like certain, traditional Chinese chess. Like, it's like you are very strong in your style against a particular animal or style, but then if you match it against the other, you're completely terrible. I think like B4V would be that type of style that can really eat up the whole of Team Savage. Like, they would just say, let's move, let's flank, and then Team Savage would wait. They play a more reactive style, and then that really like force themselves to be pinched inside the buildings, especially with the landscape around that can give an enemy team who wants to play aggressive for those options and flanks as well. That was a very good example when it comes to that type of dynamics, like between team fights, between teams. And Northwest Island, we always talk about is a love and hate thing, right? Like, some of these teams love it because this is where they land. They can, get onto these high mountains, great elevation very early on, but to adjust the split sometimes extremely hard. Like, and some teams would opt in to go for a very, very huge split. But very hard to tighten it up. The support game, when we talk about splits, can be very tricky. Like, it'll take a lot of time. So need to see how they play this. And the rotations as well can be very punishable if you don't know how to, edge your way in. Can kind of just leave you running in the open.
Just feel that now also for Wizard Esport, stepping forward around that Northwest Island, a brilliant position for them. Of course, also KurdVictory there too. They have pushed it further away. It's why Wizard can't ideally get to the top of this mountain as easy. But I still feel that Wizard, there is space for them. And if they can continue with that northwest shift, as you said, to try to continue to push forward into that northwest side, maybe they can start to find some of that high ground position. They can start to find a way around all of that information. However, the zone, not going to play nice though. It shifts all between those three islands, and I think a very difficult decision for a lot of these squads to how they want to rotate. I'm really looking, though, probably the most beautiful rotation out of this is TSC Legends honestly moving to Boot Camp Hill. They're going to have a really good informational position, an advantage over that L compound. Yes, they can't take it, but we can know who's there and how many players.
Yeah, the L and Trifecta compound through the group stage is a place to be called home by Team Savage, but they're already out in this game. So some of these teams should know that if they are not there, then they can maybe take it away. Like, after all, is one of the strongest positions, only if you know how to split around it. Like, I need to really stress that one. It kind of applies to most compounds, but in that particular compound, it's crazy. Like, there's very small sight lines that, like, if you know it, you know it, and if you haven't found it, you can't use it to the maximum capacity, right? And this time around, like, rotating through that northern side, 1802 getting caught and slipping just that little bit, not respecting of this compound enough and its sight lines, but the rest of the team seems to be able to go slightly further, but may just come into the area of control by some other teams, and it's a little bit bold, right, to say the least, for this rotation. Just like drive and see what's in front of you, and then just good luck.
I just wonder, though, why some of these teams do make these aggressive rotations. Is it just to the lack of knowledge, or is it to the lack of respect, Tarzan? Because we say that potentially it is disrespectful, yes, but is it just a mistake on their part, not actually respecting the fact, potentially, or even understanding more so the fact that there could be a team there around them and who can shoot on that specific rotation?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's very tricky, because one thing that I have to give it to 1802, though, they are using the vehicles like in the way that they can basically all get in, like, without getting punished too hard for this rotation. Like, the problem is they need to do it in the time that is really going to not get as punishable. Like, I think that would be the key thing. But after all, there's no really good ways to maneuver through that part of that island, because so many teams can just set up in those split compounds, and it's going to be very useful when it comes to data to know what teams like dropping where, and if the circle goes that side, this is where they're going to hold. So that is one way that not just 1802, but every squad can really use, like, in their advantage if they do, study that properly.
We talked about, though, TSC Legends. They took away Camp Hill. This is my worry, though. That as that duo, they struggle when it comes to defending these fights, and especially as a squad. I do want to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, though, but TSC Legends, they obviously did take a massive game in the first match. We know that they can have these big performances, and I actually really like the fact that they are trying to position away from this fight. They don't want to take it. Of course, as Zoe does also move to the northern side, so they again need to move regardless, and making that quick play is something I like from TSC. They're not trying to be one-dimensional, but adapting to how the game is evolving.
Yeah, and wow, what a tough... It's such a tough circle, this one. Not only do you have to predict which way it might go, you need to think about whether you can split in a way that gives you lose out on a lot of opportunity to farm on the edge, right? But it's just extremely hard. I feel like even if you have vehicles, you can still find it very hard to translate maybe from an edge clearing and killing like style into the next position, because it's just there's not a lot of land in here. You may be forced into the water, and we've seen those like strategies here, but submarine strategy in Sanhok, we don't see that quite a lot, but it's still possible, and I think it's extremely useful for this particular ending.
Oh, for sure. It's a strategy that is clearly viable, considering that it is going to be difficult at this point in Phase 4, heading into Phase 5, for teams to make those crosses around the rivers. And I think that particularly if you are around that boot camp side, like Spill have decided to gamble for, it does run that risk of they will have to be that submarine fishing later on, because they will struggle inevitably to get into what is already going to be a crowded opposite end of the river. TSC But we have taken that L compound eventually. We mentioned there is a difficulty with it, though, because they could get knocked. They could lose a fight. However, they've already found one position already against Gaijin. One knock for now. Euphoria steps up, takes down the second. Can they get the third? Will the Gaijin defend? Kronos steps forward, but looks only to get knocked again. Euphoria for a third.
Silent.
Will confirm away the 2 kills. And let's get outplayed in a 1v2 situation. The zone against him. Syrax around Lord. Example will fall before them, but I don't think Gaijin are going to be much longer here in this second game.
It's hard. Like, I feel like you just need to use a lot of brute force if you want to enter certain parts. Have a good formation, but they want to play something a bit more split, and that is a little bit out of sync, I would say, between the teams. So they need to come back stronger. I think so far that is probably 0 points. Yeah, I think it could be like if they're out at 13th, but I might be tripping there a little bit. But
they got a solo. They got a solo to life.
There we go. Like, at least they've got one in that case. But the shift going to that Northwest Island, man, tough, very, very tough. And I think some of these teams need to almost, if they are a full squad, send the majority over to live and really leave one to punish these teams and play spoiler.
Conqueror, though, as well. Already losing to Syrax. They're in the blue zone. However, we do need to get out of this quickly. Cypher already going down so low. But Ahsoka's going all the way in. Ahsoka, what are you doing? But it does get the kill. Does get one regardless, but does trade his life. Prince going for that trade, but I think in this situation, when you go for those trades, it's very risky considering you've already lost 2 players behind that fight, and then you're relying on trying to find those massive trades overall. And now, of course, TSC Legends will fall. Just a little bit too hard, of course, to take cover as that blue zone also heading through their faces. But there, you have to also worry about Syrax. Syrax, they need to cross that river. And again, look who's on the other side, RESQ. They're here for those kills, but they're also navigating a very tricky path in between them and also 1802. And they're also for RESQ as well. And going to be their 11th position in this second game. Time for some new teams on the top of that leaderboard. Right now is Spill also. They have crossed over. We're going to have to cross over once more. They're inside the blue. They're looking maybe to snatch away Danoka as they pop their little fishy head up, but they don't quite spot it, and instead Danoka will come back down again. 1802 Loveco as well, going to drop on the edge of the blue as that blue zone went back over to B4V and Tarzan. B4V, who have not moved since that initial fight. Maybe they now have the opportunity to take this game.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, MVP Papa Blue, right? Like, that's really this type of game. Like, and it was so tricky for some of these teams. Like, if they know it's so hard to cross anyway, should they have been more cautious and conscious of what's going on this side of the map and make sure they at least take a few kills with them. It seemed like Spill at least done one thing right. Left one to heal as long as possible, the rest to just run and maybe try to spray 1 or 2 down. Lakrita would be the one playing that heal duty. Seems like it will not be enough though. Like, just really misclick there, and that will be him probably going down. Like, unless he's just got that luck in that final bitness yet, but that will be it. And man, Northwest Island OP. Like, when they are in here, they can really make it work. And the uncles have almost been forgotten. How could we? And they've made it to top 5.
The uncles are inside the top 5. They almost made it there, I believe, in that first game as well. They didn't do terribly. 1802, though, as well. They will drop. And as we said, it is Rise for more teams to equalize on this leaderboard. 7 kills already as well for B4V. KurdVictory also inside this top 5 too. And I think this is the opportunity to try steal away those top spots. I mean, 8 kills now already. For the rest of B4V, Joker will get felled by KurdVictory. There also falls Dika as they go straight from one fight into the next, almost take down Hilu. They're walking their way in, meandering their way down that hill, left and right. But Tequila, he is a crucial rock here, and he buys that position now for Ricard to join him, and surely for the rest of KurdVictory to join them.
Well, if KurdVictory is going to win any game, it would be this type. Like, being at 13th place team with so many placement points, 62 placing points and 34 kill points from those group stage, they rely on these type of games to get some points, right? Like, because they don't play the hyper aggressive style, and this is time to really show up. And they need to still wrap this up, though. This is the hard thing, because if they have not been involved in many fights in this tournament, they may not do that as well. But that will be them proving me wrong. Uncle suffered from 2, Tequila tried to strike more.
Already 2 kills and right down to a solo player, down to 0. The Uncles UK white, 12 points are all they're gonna grab. 10 kill points already for Born for Victory, 7 now for KurdVictory. You can see Hilu trying to assassinate whoever steps through that door, but Raccoon is gonna be wiser for the meantime. But do they step away? You can see the third party peek, but we've not spotted Hilu at the meantime. Hilu does step, gives the fire away. That is a crucial moment that I think Raccoon had not spotted them. Hilu could have gotten that knock.
But it's a good split, though. Like, Jimmy made sure the Sanhok Anka cannot get out of there. If we just match about like the level of confidence when it comes to fights, ideally the side of, or theoretically, Born for Victory should win this one.
Win or not is now KurdVictory, though. Akar, as you said, that zone, they're waiting for it to chunk them out. Jimmy, yes, will fall, but they're relying on that moment Akar makes that move. It has to be a strike through for Jimmy, but instead he tries to play for the zone, and splitting that decision only now gets knocked. And I think that's a crucial error through from B4V. It puts all of the pressure now onto Hilu, who has to fight the 1v2. Of course, Hilu, they gave away their position. They know there is someone there, and they've got themselves inside the zone. They've got themselves a building, Taz, and I think that B4V, they're just falling flat. It's now the yellow KurdVictory squad look to take the yellow trophy, as they will take down B4V, and they secure themselves the second chicken dinner.
I cannot believe it. Like, the side of B4V, it's like, how do they struggle, in fights? It's like endgame, they're so close to winning that there's a little bit of choke coming through it. But it's tricky, I do have to say it. Like, especially when it comes to those houses, like Jimmy told that position might have his position given away already. We have to go back and watch, like, if that is the thing. If that was actually the case, then KurdVictory just need to make sure that he doesn't get rewarded for that. I'm talking about Jimmy, and then Jimmy was stuck in the middle. Do I rotate? Do I heal? And then before he know it, he ran out of options, and the only way was to run. And then that was basically it. Like, and there were some small things towards the end there that could have been played completely differently. Like, when it comes to his position, probably completely stealth as well, but he decided to pre-fire, like, before the zone's even close to closing. So those are the mistakes that we've seen. But you know what? Good that they've got those points. Good that the circle was so onto their side. Now, like, it's down to them to take it over to Miramar for the next one, because, man, like, you can't rely on luck in that.
Gotta rely, of course, on those standings, so to get you that money, get you that PMPL position. Tarzan as now KurdVictory straight back on top. And Born for Victory not doing too shabby themselves. 22 points, Uncles as well, stepping up once more. I think Team 1802, though, probably should be, if not on the top of his leaderboard, however, if not tied, because another big game through from them when it comes to that consistency. Yes, it's not going to be the 20-pointers, but they've been in a decent spot these last two.
Yeah, I think the fact that TSC Legends got some points in that one after 20-pointer, to say the least, might leave them kind of in the top. The side triple, though, do play more confidently. And I think I'm still waiting, like, very excited to see how teams adapt tomorrow when it comes to Sanhok. We've got some hot drops that we don't know whether these teams prefer, but I talk about that ego factor. Like, do you want to go back, or do you want to feel like you're running away? Right, but is it worth it when the map's so open, especially on the eastern side? And we talk about, like, Game 4 as well. We're not there yet, but, those early clashes, especially in Severny in Game 4, some of these teams, if they have already got a game plan for Game 3, then they can preemptively talk about Game 4 a little bit. But Game 3 is going to be interesting as well. Like Miramar, once again, we've got only one of that every day. Man, I hope they've done the homework, because it seems like some of these doesn't seem to be the case. So, man, like, I want to be proved wrong, and maybe they can slide into our DMs and let us know what they've been doing.
I hope that these teams can improve, because what we're seeing actually, in fairness, isn't disastrous and difficult to decide on how they made those mistakes. I think that actually they are clear mistakes, and it's something that can be really improved coming into tomorrow's games. I'm really hoping that we can see that. As you said, we're going to have to see that immediate improvement all the way on to Miramar. Is it just another short break away? are back, Tarzan, for the PUBG Mobile Club Open UK 2021 full season final. We've had 2 games so far, and now we have 2 more to come. Miramar up next, and of course, if you have just missed it, it was Born for Victory who slipped a little bit at the end in KurdVictory. They took through that second game chicken dinner on Sanhok. But more importantly, those who didn't even get close in that second game once more, Team Savage dropping down again. And as you said, for the fact that they have struggled on Miramar as well.
Well, at least they've got more kill points than placement points for once, right? And and that is harsh. That is too, okay, but okay. In all honesty, when it comes to analysis and data, we know how Erangel's been so important, and this split, like Miramar's got a little bit like less love. Team Savage, I'm worried about them because they got some decent Miramar games early on in the tournament, and that's when they were not allowed to go to their drop spots. Like when they were allowed to go north around like Tor Akumada, like these type of map, like they struggle to come back in, like if the circle doesn't go their side, which they didn't have many games on Miramar to play, like, and it's kind of still very new in my head to remember how they have these early game hiccups when they get congested on that side, when they really want to get to Tokakumada, and they run around mid game with like almost pistols, like absolutely no resources. So man, I'm worried about them. And it's not just them that we're worried about. I want to talk about 777 Esports. I think it's time. I feel like, yes, I don't want to, incur that mental construct, but it's hard when you know the day's almost completely over and you've played through all 3 maps and you've basically underperformed in all of them. We're not there yet, guys, but like just laying those possibilities out for those storylines, and it's real tough, like especially when I've like been a player before. I've really closely worked with players before. That mental aspect is so strong, and we have seen in the past, and we didn't say these stories so much on stream sometimes, but we know, like sometimes through DMs, through Discord, and all that stuff, we know there are people who would literally drop out in the middle of the tournament, or like within the day because they don't like the team, like from one core, like is extremely real. What's behind the scene?
To be honest, though, I do really worry about not only those teams, but I think also to the consistency of teams as well, because we are starting to see that leaderboard shape up. And I think that, of course, it is early days. I want to really hone in this point of, by the end of the day, what we're probably going to see is whether teams can be consistent in these first 4 games in 25% of their matches so far or not. And when you think towards consistency being something really important, is something that, for example, Team 1802, even if they haven't actually been winning these matches, they haven't been getting big scores, they're still staying at those 13-point mark average. So actually, if they were to continue this, they would likely end up higher than a lot of those big game teams. Of course, we mentioned the likes of RESQ also slipping very hard in this second game because they didn't have that position a little bit too aggressive that time around.
It's a little bit tough. I think that circle itself is too tough to come out with any conclusions, really. But RESQ, like, only if my memory is this good, right? I know they were not as strong in Sanhok, or maybe they were just too good on Erangel and Miramar. So back onto those big maps, they're allowed to play the style that we've seen them play, and we talk about that very dominant edge play, very effective, very efficient, and then potentially translating into that mid game, and will be very, very good. I think that style is really, really strong, because a lot of teams, when you just consistently go for positions and placement, like you really lack those kills. Sometimes you really need to get a very OP spot when it comes to that particular circle, and you can start fragging only if you didn't get pressured from multiple sides. So the flexibility, I think, is very key when it comes to these sort of team play.
as we do head into Miramar shortly. But Tarzan, I really do also want to hone in that point about, as you said, teams going wide on Miramar, because we've seen this before. And as we head into this match, I want to see who does take that position wide out on Miramar, because if they do, you want to see, as we go back onto it, that better rotations in, that respect to also teams who have already been inside the zone coming back forward. As also forward on our screen is our beautiful sponsor Xiaomi, where you can enjoy that super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. Also, what I don't want to see, though, Tarzan, is a Los Leones zone. I mean, we kind of joked about it, but I'm concerned for my welfare, for my well-being, and seeing another Los Leones zone. I'm going to need counseling if we get 4 more.
We've got some detox, though, right? Like when we did some work in PMPL Arabia, we didn't get not quite like Los Leones, but this is great. I think it's a playing path that can still test like these teams very well, from Puerto Paraiso all the way to Oasis. I mean, we can see Tor Akumada pretty sure like to have Team Savage there, but teams going towards that western side still can really float in. So pretty nice, if I do say so myself. And if you want to go slightly further out, then you would need to know these main roads and the vehicle spawns around it. So I think it will be a pretty, well spread out and distributed playing path. And of course, that central position that we like talking about, San Martin Hill or Picado or Power Grid Plateau, however you want to call it, will still be where some of these teams will fight for. And we've seen some very interesting series of fights in the past when it comes to different timings in approaching that. But phase 1 will go over to that eastern side with Minas Generalis in the middle, actually. And I quite like that, because there's still a lot of good positions on that eastern side, but we haven't seen them used well, like enough yet.
I feel that again around Graveyard as well, though, Tarzan, because you look at the hills, you look at that high ground of teams roaming in, because if they do make those quick rotations, Minas Generalis Graveyard, it's all open. And of course, they may or may not know this to their own information when dropping down with their own parachutes, but also to the fact that regardless of that, if you even leave it late, but you are early enough to get in there first, you can still grab that Graveyard hill. You can still grab the church as well as another important location of that compound. So there are many spaces, even La Bendita, for teams to take up inside this zone that are available and free, most importantly, right now in the start of this game. And again, that then leads to the variation in the options given to these teams. And if they do decide to try shift up and try to be diverse, or if they do just go back to their comfort that we had inside that group stage and just stick to the same strategy.
Man, and I love some of these distributions coming through. First off, we've got very aggressive Born for Victory in Al Asahar. And the side of Arena 51, if you know this town, guys, you would know you always kind of want to go from the north side and the central part. And when you get pushed to this eastern side, like Arena 51 does, it gets really, really hard. Like someone can really rotate wide on that northern side and can really choke you out on your escape paths. And the loot is always just richer in those middle parts. And when you push down to south, there will be a very huge difference when it comes to resources. So Arena 51 seeing BVOV drop here and won some fights here before. So this is really just a bit of a challenge. But we look at these other sides, they are something slightly more respectful. So if you can remember what that minimap looked like earlier. RESQ, just 4 team dropped, clumped onto San Martin. And to respect that, TSC Legends drifted wide out towards like Hacienda del Patron and water treatment area. And that is a very close position to the side of Conqueror UK. So that would be some different type of contest, or I should say clash when it comes to that early game. But Ferk's not come through will be by Siren from 777 Esports. I mean, they needed that momentum, right? And that knock was upon KurdVictory as well. So to kill the winners is a very good way to bounce back.
Oh, but Abby unfortunately bounced it into their demise. Translate barely takes it through. Very important kill indeed, though, for also Arena 51, because they have not bounced at all, apart from the bottom of that leaderboard, straight back down. And of course, Arena 51 needs to have this good performance today in this very game. Otherwise, you are looking at that mental drain on Arena51 and how they can come back when it comes to that final Erangel Game 4. Also, you can also see another of those fights happening on a kill feed, but also in between Conqueror and TSC Legends as Bujo knocks in the far flank, but it's one straight back. Noka on their own. If Euphoria takes this is a massive step up for them. They pincer them with the Tony. And that's the 2v1 you're looking for. Conquering a little bit above, and now, as we said, Ari inside the front, but they're left to their own. Yes, you've got Hisoka there, but Hisoka is trying to keep him at bay. They do find one. Ari steps up when they need it. Can they grab for the second? In 1v2 themselves, it usually equipped. Drawing on fire. Vitoni goes down. Drop shot outplay. Vitoni takes a third, and now it's all down to Hisoka. Hisoka is here trying to stop the position. Where is also that follow-up though? Jaja finally only inside the fight. Tarzan. Hisoka gets dropped down to a third less of his HP. Now also the revive coming in, but Hisoka has to turn, and they do not grab it. There comes the confirm. The Tony strikes it. Hisoka behind the hay bale. Jaja steps up, 25 bullets inside. He usually reloads quick, goes straight back with the help of Vitoni, and two sides at once finds one, but not the other. As now also Vitoni, they grab the rest of Conqueror UK, they revive Jaja, and I think again TSC Legends, Tarzan, they are really stepping up in these finals.
Man, that was Conqueror UK failing to adapt to the adapted drop spot from TSC Legends. TSC Legends just, spread around Hacienda. We talk about it, how that is almost an unchallenged area for Conqueror UK, and they've got some really huge games, like from the pacing around that area, especially in that day 3 of group stage. But this time around, the Kings have arrived, and we talk about how they've been playing better and better. If I can just quickly pull that up, we're talking about a bit of a crazy progression through the day. So TSC Legends, 24 points day 1, 35 day 2, 61 day 3, and they are up top after that game 2, and they also got the first squad wipe. So they are entering into that zone that is extremely scary for other teams, but extremely happy for us to watch.
I also believe that TSC Legends, with also this momentum, you can feel it in the way that they play, Tarzan, more importantly. That they have this confidence in the air about them. And clearly, you do see that hunger from them, as we said in the previous game, or in the game 1, sorry, that they were 4th in that spring season, and actually now barely making it. I think that has been that wake-up call that they are required to have, and they realize that they need to be able not only to clinch third, but we need to take everything.
And arguably they are a stronger roster as well. I think pulling Euphoria and Jaja in is just making it so strong. Like, if there's anything, it would be very established style of players not being compatible, and so it's very hard to figure that out. But otherwise, if they are on the same page, it's great. Like, for a group of experienced players, and would
they feel
in,
it?
Yeah, they're vibing, man. Like, I think that is how the state that you want to get to, like that zone that you want to get to when it comes to playing this game with your friends and having good fun, but also knowing how to play a good game. Very makes sense when it comes to the macro game, makes sense when it comes to execution of mechanics and all that stuff. So yeah. But speaking of that, 2 teams have just gone past in front of our eyes, and Triple Sports Club is another team that we are waiting to play like how TSC Legend just did, because they have. Let's not forget, PMNC, they played very similarly when it comes to that group stage, and RESQs played this same style through the whole last PMCO in the spring split.
That aggression maybe does cost them by being a little bit far away from the zone, but an interesting and decisive, albeit here from RESQ, change in that playstyle, as it does centralize again over to Minas Generales, but RESQ, they're not edging that zone anymore. They're straight in the center of everything, in the storm of players that are going to come from that eastern wave and also from that west in particular as well. I feel, though, that now also the rest not only of Graveyard being taken up, also La Bandita, you're looking at now the positions of Junkyard, really the only rest position of heals and information that these these teams can grab, because around all of that more central eastern side of the zone, it is going to be more feeling like a bowl, which you can get shot down from upon.
Yeah, and it's very landscape specific, right? I always love using that term because it is like so key when it comes to what you have to maneuver through. That is the basic level of very landscape specific points. But let's just hold that thought. Triple wants to go hard, and that's upon 1802. That is one squad that you really need to take down because they are doing so well, and there's a good way to stop them with the really good run so far in this tournament.
In that type of landscape, Tarzan forces, of course, Triple to make that immediate push. You do just that, they get rewarded for it. We also need some fairness. Take Naz back onto their feet. They are wasting a little bit of time here because also Uncles, they're on this compound too. And per 1802, they are left trying to defend 2v8 against the rest of Uncles now, but they do defend a little bit more. They buy some more time. Also, Albie going to be knocked with the help of that third party, and now is a backup on the feet. Naz in the play of this fight. Uncles, though, they're getting even closer. You can see now 3 of them all together, one on the flank, trying to find that long range, but it's not going to stop the 4 walls diving on board. Jack takes one, confirm at least, goes back upstairs, dodges away from El Chapo, and leaves the fight to rest of also Triple. Triple now entering in as well. They do not want to give up this fight. They do not want to give up these kills.
You know what, like, it's a third party, but it's a position where the fourth party can come through. We may not see it on the map, but I think it would be possible to have it like from very long range. And there we go, Syrax, an Impala team, comes in on rotation and from just a very typical shot stop position to really overwatch this fight, right? But they need to establish some escape path for themselves, though, like, because if they just spot something and stop for it, it's going to be quite hard if someone else comes in, but Abby will get one.
You need these quick fights in this situation, Taz, and that is what you are required to bring to the table. Unfortunately, none of them doing so, really. And as you said, Syrax are starting to pinch him, 2-2 split, 2 in the front, 2 in the backside, just behind 1802, of course, as well. And Uncles, they really will fall short into the most deficit of this split because they're the ones that suffer because of the way that they entered in, and Syrax should be able to pinch them from those 2 different locations. So as a result, the Uncles UK, yes, they've already lost 2, but we still need to make that push because there's no getting back out of the fight because of the way Syrax is positioned. As 1802, Cute does drop their nade as well with the help of Molly. Triple do find an extra one, and the patience plays off as now they run in onto El Chapo, running them down, just safe in the back end, tries to clean up some fight, but there's no knocks to be had. They find 1 and find 2 though, and they do get it, turn around quick. Do we have the HP? No, we do not. Syrax, fourth party, and dismantle the rest of those hopes of Uncles. Is now also Triple dismantled by Uncles. An option and an opening for 1802. It's burn, baby, burn. Jack tries to take it, but not the duo support. Resnov 1v1s goes straight back to the revive.
Man, like those audio cues might have been so complicated and so confusing for some of these teams, but exactly that fourth party came through, and the Uncles, they've answered the what but didn't answer the how. It's like a fear of missing out when you look at that third party potential, and it just came and didn't deliver at all. But this is not even done yet. That will be too much of a disrespect coming through. Nas almost goes down, and that will be actually 1802 having that opening.
Another Molly, though, forces Triple away from the staircase, and a little bit of a skirt around onto the opposite side of the building. Going to be too long, of course, but now we have ended up. Now the revive comes in barely in time, but are they ready? Are they equipped? They take 1, they take 2, but it's 1v1. Now it's all up to Scepters. Tries to pre-fire, but isn't going to be the case. And the revive for the 3rd time comes through, where we try to bait, but also now look, here come the awareness of the kill feed. Syrax are here to play in a broken 2 teams As they drop down once more, will finally die. 1802 left out of the match, and now Triple will be there to follow. Syrax they clean up, and unfortunately it's all down to RESQ, but where's HP bar? It's not there, and that pre-fire not there on target either. As now he goes back upstairs himself, trying to pull a sneaky 1802. The rest of Syrax, Cable on one side, the opposite on the other. Prince trying to step up. They know that they are up there. The smoke does make it slightly difficult. They're trying to be respectful. They do go for the revive.
Man, this is insane. But you know what? Like, Syrax had the right idea. Once again, we talked about whether they've answered the how after the what. I think the timing. Yeah, like, it's a little bit off. I feel like they could have done that a little bit better, but that is definitely Triple. Like, running out of meds and utilities very soon. Syrax get that one. If they know the kill feed, as well as you mentioned, like, earlier, it's go time. This is go time. Unless there's a molly, this is time to wrap up the fight.
Nade down the stairs. Tarzan, they do have to be careful of it. There is some utility left. There is some kick left in Triple Sports Club. But Syrax, they have the 3 players. It doesn't need to rush, and there it goes. That is exactly what you mentioned. Syrax can clean up the fight, and fourth party, as you predicted, steal the show. But the zone, this fight has been going on for the last 2 phases. We're on phase 4, almost phase 5. And Syrax need to move. It's out away from them.
I think that was a very good illustration of how the game can be played and all borderline should be played. And there's a lot of no that came through in that type of scenario, like a lot of half-hearted things. Yeah, like you have the idea, but it's always about the execution, and the scene just needs to find the high efficiency coming through it. But this time around, Minas Generalis is going to be very, very packed, as we have most of those hardcover on that western side. That will be a lot of crash going on. Example team basically came through to the finals only from that last game from group stage. They need to really prove a lot more. They still got some grounds to cover, and that will be them at least with the vehicles to do so.
Icy as well does have to be careful coming over with Knack on that ridge line. We're starting to feel a little bit split here in Recco. And Island to himself, his rescue blood, knows exactly where they are. He can smell exactly the members of Example UK, but so can Boar for Victory. They're starting to flank, and this is of concern. For example, UK Tarzan, because they are acquiring themselves a lot of positions of teams around them, not just those in front. Of course, keep in mind KurdVictory. They're on the flank side. You've got 777 moving in. You also have TSC.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of these early fights as well. I shouldn't say early fights, but like mid-range fight or like compound shot. But you know what? Like Jimmy really needs to be careful there. But that is actually just good team shooting coming through. I'd say that 777 was just ready, and they want to take this back. Like early game, like killing one of KurdVictory, coming in from that south side, being able to edge in. We know what they can do. They've got the biggest game ever in the history of PMCO UK, I believe. Was it 19 kills that they got? Like insane. But they didn't have that momentum so far, and that will be London actually going a little bit too aggressive there, and the team is currently split, so that support needs to come through. We don't even know whether someone can go wide and go behind them, so that is the issue with that game plan.
But on a more fundamental point, that we are entering a course around Minas Generalis, Tarzan, and crucially, I want to see teams start to play the style of being more together. I think Example, they made this slight mistake where he tried to send Recco in a little bit too aggressively, preemptively, and because he had that late play, is also Example do strike one onto Sauron back, so they will confirm that second, and this is disaster as well for 777 on entering into Minas Generalis, because you need to stay together. As we said, if you start to split, it's not an easy compound. It's not got the buildings to cover as much as others. And I do feel that if teams, they start to stray, it's very much easier to take them down.
I think that this is the thing, right? Like when we talk about what are they actually doing now, they need to ask themselves, what do I actually establish? What do I actually gain by doing that? They keep getting knocked, like some of these players, by peeking when it doesn't exactly matter. It's in the distance with the particular types of covers that really won't get you any confirmation of kills. Like, yes, you can really, burn down and wear down the types of like helmets and all that stuff, but that's about it. So like a lot of these are just testing your skills almost, but when it comes to the macro game, it really doesn't matter that much. But those OP2 buildings are claimed by Gaijin Seraphim and the side of Syrax on the southern side, so very tricky part to play, actually incredibly open, and whoever gets there first may not actually get the priority, because like hardcovers are the stronger one in this particular landscape. These other teams need to find some shot stops and maybe farm from the outside, and may need to make some trade when it comes to the survival of certain teammates.
Of course, Split as well, they do have the high ground, and they can start to walk their way down easier into zone, but you said around playing on the edge. The problem is, apart from Spill's location, Tarzan, the rest of that zone, it's all got roads on the edge that you have to cross. So, yes, you can play slightly on that edge, but you can't play together all on that edge, because you need to find some easier way inside, and that's what makes this zone so difficult, is also forcing now the hand as a result of RESQ already onto TSC Legends. They know that they have to start being more aggressive. They need to start becoming more decisive in their plays with these 5 shifts. They know that there are those behind them as well. But TSC, all aware of this, they stand together. They will not be failed. Unfortunately, Team Savage Show, on the other hand, they do lose a knock against them.
But you see what RESQ is doing that other teams aren't. They came in knowing that they need to clear the site out. If they just crash towards the center, there will be people playing spoiler to take them down. So they took enough time, roughly 30-40 seconds ago, and come in to try to take some fights, relieve that pressure, then slowly work their way in. A lot of teams would just take too long to decide, and when they do, they only say what spot in the circle do they actually take. And this is why RESQ has been so strong in our region, but I don't want to hype them up too much. There's still a lot of pressure, or just difficulties, obstacles to enter from this western edge.
There's still 10 teams alive, Tarzan, and have only won one good game, but it was a poor performance in the second match, albeit it was a hard zone, and Blood now falling as well. Team Savage on the backside, the revive came back on, and it's still 3 players for Team Savage alive, and now they have this problem of trying to navigate inside the zone themselves. As TSC, they go straight onto the zone, and a wipe of Reborn for victory on their drive in. 777 all on the opposite end, only going to lose down another. It's a 1-for-1. Jaja falls, but Syrax helps to take down Boss from the opposite end of the match. It's now 777 to 3. TSC confirmed to 2. Blood as well, going to fall to the blue zone. RESQ forced to play edge. So are also Team Savage. Another knock now as Boss confirmed. Sauron also going to drop. And that's the zone as well. More importantly, disgustingly goes away from both of those houses and in towards TSC in the open.
And this title circle is really where it tests how you ration your utilities. Like, if you don't have the smokes, if you've been wasting some, if you've over smoked, it's GG in this final circle. So that gives me, the prediction to say that maybe the side of Gaijin and Syrax will come in stronger with the positions, because they've been in hard covers and they didn't need to use those smokes to create soft covers. So, and they also have the cars protected, I would assume so. So, like, that would be a little bit of that power shifting over to those teams that escape from those action. But whether their hands will be too cold from staying in, that is for them to answer.
Needs to put their hands in front of that heater, Tarzan. Not inside the fridge, not inside the freezer, because that is not how you play PUBG Mobile. Team Savage also entering in from that northern side. They have been playing like their hands are in the fridge. They've been quiet all game. Yes, they've got those 4 kills early on, but beyond that, they have been slightly more quiet. They lose now to Ripo Tick, the MVP for the first match for RESQ. Keeping that hope alive, but short-lived, because here, Gaijin and Team Savage inside the fight. Gaijin wipe 1. It turns to Team Savage, but take down the other, and Shadow is the only one remaining. Wizard as well, gonna drop, does find one back. Can Shadow switch? Not enough in time. Logan is there, and Gaijin defend their position for now inside the top 5. Them 2 hoping for a very important high game. We also said, though, however, Spill, who entered in from that high ground, Gordish got themselves that position to survive as well.
a few more ridgeline for them to play, but extremely hard anyway. Everyone's just so focused on the other side. No one's been trying to take down Gordish, but he has to be extremely careful, and that will be him gone. And Syrax, a huge game for them. And they're not even, like, bad when it comes to earlier games. They got 17 points so far, and 10 being those, like, kill points. So they might really take away those top spot, but they really need to take out TSC if they want to come in very strong.
They've doubled that kill score in just this game alone, though, Tarzan. And now they're looking for even more. There's still plenty more food alive for Syrax, only if they can nom it up. A full 6-course meal here for them and make it one already. Cable strikes in the appetizer. On down to the rest of Gaijin, puts them to 2, is now also Cable strikes another, confirms it, there goes the appetizer, premix is gobbled away, and now it's only going to be 2 remaining for Gaijin, but that blue zone, it looks to gobble them as well, and unfortunately they look tastiest when it comes to that furthest position away from the zone, because TSC now moving in to secure their spot as well.
And you know what? There is Londa, ready to spoil his teammates from PMNC. He's in that position. I think he's known, though. He's lost so many of his teammates, and that could have been a stalemate itself between 777 and Syrax. But they need to find the best time to go in, because Syrax are under the radar of multiple teams. Yes, they do have the numbers advantage, and they do have the numbers of kills, but the difference of 7 placement points right now, and that is how Londa can spoil the side of Syrax. Not 1, but 2 knocks coming through.
Oh man, Syrax, Londa puts in the punishment before they go down. They might have just spoiled Syrax chances, giving this away to TSC, a prime opportunity for them. Lord gets in, no, that is crucial. Gaijin still in this game. Logan left to heal the zone for phase 7. Now pushes its way forward. TSC, they are safe for now, but will they be as safe as houses, as safe as that shed for much longer?
Very, very tricky one right here, and Batoni is just accurate as ever. It's almost like Gaijin are not ready for this. I don't know why, but that might be them proving me wrong. After all, they have come into top 3 after what seems to be a detrimental 2 games, but that will be everyone having someone not, and maybe that reset just needs to come through. The blue zone won't be adding more pressure for now, though.
It's about where this zone shifts next. That is determinant of who takes this game, Tarzan. They've got the buggies to do so. TSC, they've got the options still to them. Syrax, they are blinded by that ridgeline as much as it protects them, however, and that has been their own undoing. Of course, the moments they've tried to step up and take that vision, they've been punished every time, but finally, enough vision onto Lord, confirms Gaijin Seraphim in 3rd position. 15 kills, a chicken dinner's worth for Syrax, and we talked about meals. This is a buffet here for Syrax in this 3rd match. Siphon Prince, now they grab this zone, and they're not quite done. They look for a refiller as now Euphoria grabs themselves further inside. Position barely there. They look for the nade inside the smoke. It won't find anyone. Siphon Prince there as well. Another going to be traded back, and that almost takes down Euphoria. One return, but won't take anyone either. In a second, if your Euphoria doesn't move, will, rightly so, as you said, take him down. And now it's all down to Batoni, but where does Batoni go? Tarzan, Batoni, he has, at this point, I would argue, to probably just go back into the blue. I mean, it's so difficult at this point, really, to take this zone away from Syrax, who control it.
I mean, it will be down to those gun skills. The pre-fire does come through the ridge, and he delivers just close enough. Man. Yeah,
almost. And as I said, I think that it was just a little bit too hard, and Cypho stepping up for Syrax, albeit they grab themselves that chicken dinner, they grab themselves that buffet of kills, as we said, and also a massive lead into 1st position overall on that leaderboard. There's no doubt about it.
Well, they at least get to know how Londa felt like in group stage, right? Like 2nd biggest chicken in a 32-point game. Insane. And we've been waiting for them to play like this all tournament. And now that you give it to them, and so many of the other teams who could get this sort of experience didn't deliver, Syrax may be on their way up. It's a little bit late, I would say, but it's better late than never.
For TSC Legends, they were also up on that leaderboard, 20
Insane.
points for them. And that is so important in that consistency, we said, that TSC, they're grabbing these high skill games every single time. And now, as a result, you can see them also on the top of that leaderboard. Team Savage trying to grab those points. We wanted to see them grab them. Arena51 also stepping up. But I think there is still more work to do. And I think also a drop, as we said, from 1802, not quite able to find that consistency. And again, the Conqueror UK and RESQ neither from that game one as well.
Yeah, I just can't wait to see tomorrow already. I'm not saying that I'm not excited for the next game, but you can see a lot of the types of early fights that came through. Like, it gave these teams a lot of space to really, go back and analyze and all that. So that is, to me, to be honest, the most fun part in the competitive scene. Is not just showing who's got the better mechanics. Of course, like, those are flashy and all that, but big brain plays, well executed, like fights with good comms, and all those stuff are just a different level of enjoyment. So you know what, show us some of these research, even share with us. We're not going to leak it if you can trust us. And it's more important for us to know that teams been putting the work in, beyond just those minutes in game, and those things that go behind the scene are extremely important.
As we do head through to our fourth game, the final one of our first day. I'm telling you, Tarzan, those leaderboards are all for everyone here to play for, but it's going to be another short breakaway, and we'll see you guys on the flip side. Oh, we're back, Tarzan, for the final game here in the PMCO UK 2021 Fall Split. And oh my, is it heating up, but also heating up with our beautiful sponsor, Xiaomi, where you can enjoy a super fast and lag-free PUBG mobile experience on Xiaomi's powerful Redmi Note 10 5G. It's down there. It is beautiful, Tarzan, but just as beautiful as I think Syrax's big fat win.
Man, like that is pretty insane. You sometimes have these, bit of memory like from the past, like from all our casting in the scene, and that is probably in the top 5 when it comes to like score, to say the least. But that game itself was very good to watch because I think we've seen very different types of fights going on. Like we've started off with some crazy like early fights here and there. Teams need to think whether to rotate or keep fighting. You can see like all those back and forth, and some of them decide to find it out. Some of them would test the ball a little bit, then draw away. But that third party, fourth party fight was where it started. Right? I think when you have a good third party or fourth party that happened for your team, it gives you a lot of momentum. You feel like you're the big brain. It's like, oh, this third party then works out. Amazing, right? And so that was a very good one for them, and see what they can do with that.
I mean, to be fair, actually Syrax, the way they played around those buildings, of course, the mega fight between Triple, 1802, and also Uncle's UK, very well played by them, the way that they played passively, but not so passive that they weren't involved in the fight. They were still having an impact, and they went in exactly at a time that they needed to wipe out a broken series of teams inside that house, but also towards mentality point of view to decide of Gaijin, and towards the side of teams like Spill, who haven't been performing as much, but now with potentially some points in the belt, maybe they can step up in this final game too.
Yeah, I think there are certain types of teams. I'd say there's like a handful of teams in this lobby that have not really changed how they play. It's almost like Spill, and we talk about maybe the sort of Arena51. They need to evolve. Because like the thing with this type of lobby is people adapt so quick. We've got experienced teams and players in here as well. They will eat you up. Like if you don't do what you believe you need it to do. And it's just based from experience, and all that would allow them to do certain things, so-called textbook things that when it comes to prep and all that stuff, to do them quicker than you. It's about practice making progress when it comes to that. It's like us making spreadsheets or whatnot to prepare for this cast and all that stuff. It's practice, right? So like some of these teams, they need to know that they are not, better than someone yet, but they can outwork someone. So just that work and passion is what we're going for, and that can really make that difference to really like smaller the gap between them and some more better players.
Fair, but it is actually kind of 3 things. I mean, yes, you've got the in-game, which is one, but you've also got that second point, which is, yes, you say preparation, but then the third point really is that extra key detail, and also the mentality side of things. And all 3 of those together, that's what makes a good PUBG team. Not having the flashy plays only in game, because if you get tilted really down hard, then you're not going to have a good performance. If you're not making the preparation as well to adjust if you are slipping down, then how do you expect to find that change suddenly and be better? The work needs to come through, and I think that we haven't really seen that from some of these teams, that adaptation, that journey. And the journey, the most best journey, will be from that team that, of course, does adapt and does make it to that PMPL, because undoubtedly, with only one spot, you got to be able to do that to succeed here.
Right now, there's not a lot of teams that shows the quality to. I know that's very harsh to say, but to be fair, we're just waiting for that one team out of many, and then we're still unsure like whether they can play at that level. We've seen how good RESQ were to represent the region, got almost like dumped on. Like we've got some very experienced teams. Like when we're talking about the Europe West scene, we're talking about teams played from 2019 at the level which a lot of players are playing now. Like when it comes to just entering to PMNC and PM UK, I'm not trying to, discourage them. That means you just need to work that hard. to go
There's
there.
so much growth potential,
so much
right?
growth potential, yes, and that is why we talk about mindset so much, and that's some certain like Asian proverbs that talk about it. Like there's always a mountain that's taller than yours, right? And even when you're at the top, it's about what you do with that, and you can see as this generation, this like youth type of players, like this group, there's so much of sometimes you hear like from like stories and all that stuff, like giving up, like huge egos, not my problem, it's all yours. So like don't point at someone else. Don't even point at yourself when things go well. And I think these things are important. So like maybe at some time we can also like talk with some other pro players and see how they like come into the scene. Like how do they feel about being like MVPC in there to just help the scene grow? But after all, there are still potential, but consistency not quite there. But we can never underestimate the growth curve of some of these players.
You talked about mountains. I just want to do something here, Tarzan. I mean, to be fair, that feels like, you're pretty taller than me. So I'm going to sit down here while we wait for the rest of the game. And while we wait for the rest of the game here, Tarzan, I also just wanted to really talk about the rest, honestly, of also the team 1802. And 1802 really honestly stepping up when it came to also that consistency. Yeah. But in that third game, not so much.
I think sometimes you will be put to the test, and seems like that was just one skirmish. Okay, so like when it comes to watching them again next game, I think it will be extremely interesting because after all, they did some very good macro things, a little bit bold, to be fair. Like they did that, just crash into that garage house, game 1. Game 2, let's just drive into more middle parts of the map. Game 3, forgot how they exactly they died, but they got punished. Let's see whether they can do better. This last game of the day, guys, we are back onto Erangel.
Oh, we are back, Tarzan. We are back on the green rolling hills. And to be fair, all of these teams that we have seen, it's been actually very, very even so far from the leaderboards. You think that, one team's going to step up. I don't think that we've really seen all that many stay consistent to stay in that lead. I mean, yes, you've got those outliers of Syrax and also the rest of TSC Legends. But outside of those two squads, I think that it is very rare and really non-existent for that consistency out of these squads.
And this time around, we've got a more southern playing path. And this is very interesting, which means we don't get to see whether those two teams will clash in Savonia again. But then we know 777 is a team that likes going to Novo, but same as Syrax. So we need to see how these teams really adapt to that. I don't think they will fight. I feel like they may avoid each other, but there's only so many places that you can go. So this is a very good first 2 Erangel games that we had from this day 1 out of 4 of the PMCO UK finals to really give each other the data and the details and the research, and that will be where you need to hold it. You can see this time around like Spill are heading towards closer to military base, and same for Syrax. So that would be the adaptation. 777 just takes Novo, and then the other takes military, but not going to be easy. And we have a very similar phase 1 circle like the one in game 1.
I'm really actually glad here that you see the adaptation from Spill not only going to be from the West Sovnovka side, or I should say it's 777 West Sovnovka side. They were outside of any compound and they had a really slow start. I'm glad they changed that here. And unfortunately, a car tries to get inside that car itself, but there is nowhere to run. And I think they maybe would have been better off just trying to take that vehicle, because instead they're scored in the garage and will just be the first out of this game. Born for victory. I mean, you literally don't see any of the other yellow highlights of those players on your map.
It's pretty simple in a way. I know it sounds like
no.
You know what? Like they might be very good in this. Do you believe that you can fly? Let's see whether they can make it through.
It looks good so far.
Go, son, because my teammate didn't make it through. Okay, I'm gonna go back to that earlier point. Yeah. Okay, there were many cars along that road, right? Like, you didn't have to go for the garage, and you saw those like parachutes. You didn't have to land alongside 3 enemy parachutes. Go for a further car and make sure that you can drive away. And at least they've done one thing well, right? Like that is, I can't do that. That was beautiful gliding.
gliding I've ever seen in so far in pro play.
You know, like, best way to cross a bridge as well. Like, now we know there's something else. Someone parked that right there so that we can see it repeat if we ever have a cross. But to be fair, we won't have that bridge play because that phase 1 does go to the southeastern side. And right now, I think this is where it gets a bit interesting because example UK, this is where they drop every time. This is where they ended their group stage, where they got a big game and they came back in. Like, they were so far that we didn't think they were in that bubble, but now they are in the finals. So, but early game is a complete different story. And Conqueror to be in here, that's extremely interesting. I thought they're a Rozok team, and now to be stuck in here may be very interesting. It's about the battle of the supports. Let's see where the other two players can come in to maybe save them.
Right. I mean, where is the rest of these Conqueror members? Again, only 2. They're nowhere near on that mini-map feed. So actually, as a result, Conqueror, you really do concern yourself about, can they really take this fight? The play right now for Conqueror is to delay. Because as you can see, Hisoka was entering in, but they're not got a vision. And Hisoka goes straight on by. I think did spot their Icy, so has got around, but still gets knocked either way. Naka finds it now. Danoka gonna drop. Ari left in a 1v3. There's nowhere to go. They will fall as well. And instantaneously to only a solo player. I think very poorly played from Conqueror.
What is going on? Like, it's so weird. I feel like Hisoka has just basically grieved his team. Yes, you can come in with the support, but you need to know what's the vehicle sound rendering range. You can't go so close. And if you want to go to the other side, don't go through them. But it would be the same for the side of Danoka and Ari. Like, yes, they sprayed down your teammate from behind cover.
Don't
There's
go
no
out.
way to properly challenge that. But you know what? It could be some miscoms. We don't exactly know why. But to come in with someone, the rest of the team, the last player to be, just extremely far away is just extremely weird. I saw extremely too much, but it's exactly how I feel. It's so
the emphasis,
unlike,
man.
Yes, it's so unlike how they played. They were a team. Okay, some stats, guys. They got 15 points in day 1 of group stage, 39 in the second one, 75 in the last day. That is the record for this PMCO when it comes to amount of points in a single day. And they still come in. No, that is not. I'm sorry. It should be 79.
Oh, it's high, though. It's high.
Now, let me just quickly go back. Just very quickly. No, that is the highest. That is literally the highest across. And they still come in today to choke some of these plays. And, that is why it's just so hard to root for a team. Because you don't want to root for a team that can just be really good sometime and be so shaky in the other way and die in some ways that makes you feel borderline ashamed. Like, if you know them, and that is a bit harsh, but you get what I mean, right? Like, we've got so many of these like coming through like from time to time, so we gotta buckle up as a region.
I really wonder now, coming in a mentality point of view for Conqueror, because if you are a team that is just this real one-shot wonder, can you ideally even consider making it into that first place position here in the finals? As we said, consistency has to be the name of the game with a capital K, not a C at the start of that word, because if you can't keep it and you can't have that, like Conqueror falling down here so early, they've not had good games previously. Yes, they sort of had a decent showing the first time around in that first opening match. Maybe a little bit nervous from everyone else around them too. I just think that it's definitely starting to show that consistency when you need to come from one game into the next. They start to really struggle on the fundamentals of how to take team fights.
Yeah, and I think this is also weird. Like, for sort of Spill to take this position, it's supposed to be a split, right? Close to the bridge is so split and got cars that you can be outpacing other teams to reach that bridge. So for Syrax to head towards military base and come in and spot you looting and spray you down from the long range, that is just an issue when it comes to phase 1 efficiency. I love talking about it. I think people just underestimate how important to delegate certain buildings for certain players to loot, and then know exactly the route to do that, right? And now this is safe trying to take these kills. But after all, we always need to ask, where's the support? You always, whoever you're facing, you always almost need to think, where's the Overwatch? Where is the support? If they can't do that properly, there is where we set the line for smart aggression.
Fortunately, Spill, they have been left to their lonesome, albeit Royman. However, the rest are getting back into the fight, and I think that this is also a slightly broken Syrax in fairness, when they also have a solo player, so it's down to the aggression as well, but unfortunately the problem of trying to get that aggression for Spill is Cable and Hype, they are on the right side of that hill, so they can find those crucial knocks when are required. Uncle and Triple, though, also going to trade one in the kill feed, 1 for 1 exactly. That nade! Holy hey! That's going to be a beautiful one through from Side. Spill now down to 2. This is the type of opening that you wanted to see. This is the type of engagement now here that Syrax can punish it. Take Lakrita away. Prince now should be freed up a little bit more to move, as Royman is the only one remaining. But as we said, phase 1, you don't want to be tanking all this much, however, because you don't have the big side of looting phase, and unfortunately, Royman, you won't have to worry about loot because he's dead. Now Spill down to 2.
It's the small things. Safe, make sure that he pushed in on the side that forced the other player out of cover so the Overwatch can put some work in. That is what we want to see, and they can almost chase this down, but I think a spray would be enough because there's still some rotations to move, and that will be Syrax taking that momentum and bringing it over here. So we've got that mainland phase 2 right now. So that is going to be, could have a bit of a rematch in certain compounds. I think that's why what reviews are so important. When you're given a circle like that in phase 2, that really shows what compounds teams like. And trust me, after like training some teams or whatnot, like people sometimes literally just say, do we take that compound again, same split? Like people would just go with something like that. Like you see some like team speak videos of like PMPL level teams, that's all they say. So the practice comes in like for those as well. So that's why research is so important. So before I hand it over to you, I've got a small piece of data that we can use. Yeah, like last finals, we've got RESQ winning PMCO Spring Split. In those 16 games, they've got 178 points. So I'd say 11 points per game would be where the line is set. But to be fair, if they got 10, they would have won that as well, because second place was 154. But then we will set that bar. So we're looking for at least 10-point averages.
Do you know that meme, Tarzan, where you have like the different levels of mental wow factor? That is like what we need. But except we need your face like on the mind exploding into the atoms. That's what we need, Tarzan, for you when we analyze PUBG.
It's like the boom. We can make a meme. We can make a GIF. I think that would be fun. I mean, I've got it.
Meme Tarzan.
You can clip
He's allowing it.
I don't mind. Like, I will see it in Discord sometimes. I know I have a funny face when I speak, but I love it. And this time, 777 won't get that contest. And it's interesting, right? Like, when they come into the other side, I think it's interesting to me how this triple sports club to not punish around here. We know they're a farm team. Like, I think historically analysts have talked about farm for being like versatile and being very good when it comes to early access to palm position. So that might be just like Triple trying to play a more central position. But Londa spots this one and may just spill the side for Spill.
Spill already losing one, and the buggy is Londa now has to step up a little bit. Kelly Boy is there underneath the ridgeline. They have to back off for now. The ridgeline, more importantly, does protect also Gordish, so that's like dip crucial, and that's why 777 they're quickly going to send it in here. Londa is trying to go for the spray, but fires back enough, and now Boss on the front has done the damage. Kelly Boy may regret that because Spill they lose a second. Spill they lose everything, and he'll be out of this game once more. An unfortunate position here from Spill in the entirety today because they've not had the strength as required, and the consistency, particularly on Erangel, has just not felt like it's there.
Yeah, and you know what? It's hard. They've got one big day in the group stage, and even for that final day, they've only shown up like a bit stronger, like in the last game, to really spoil some other teams, to be fair. But other than that, they were not very distinct in their playstyle after all, right? So the occasional big games won't be the same team who has that, but this is go time for so many teams. The middle zone is already quite saturated, so hopefully they already got the synergy, so they know how each other need to respond. And when it comes to finding out that certain compounds are taken, and every dip counts, because if hard cover's not there, there's still so many good positions, especially to that North Plateau to farm, and we can see RESQ really controlling that already. They were the team that played off that position last game and slowly moved in and transitioning that into crashing the center.
But again, Team Savage, they also have this really strong position around farm. Of course, it does get more complex because, as you say, RESQ are overlooking them, and it is so saturated around this location. But albeit Team Savage, if anyone tries to contest and tries to drive on in, it will be extremely difficult for them to do so. And unfortunately, their example, taking down one, but not before they lose one themselves. And Reko and the rest of example, UK, they are trying to step up and try to bring this fight back, very much needed, and they've already got themselves 3 kills. If they can get a little bit more, they start to get themselves good position in this game. 1802, but it won't be so fortunate though, will be confirmed away. Loveco almost mollies himself, as now he has to go back into the picture of defense.
And you know what? That was
I'm
beautiful.
Tarzan, save me.
Well, you know what? 1802 might be the one choking on this one. I'm saving you, be fine. But you know who's not saving them? Example team. We talked about how scouting, baiting, and opening can happen at the same time. I feel like they might have done something similar, and they just came in so quick as well. But you can see there's a time for this position. There's a time for this play, and they got punished because where they came from, that position is now taken, and it will just turn into stalemate. So that is the things that you have to lay out there. We need to do this quick, would be the phrase, and would just go for it. Like, find some ways, time the utilities, and go for something. Like, you don't even need. But Reko, excuse me, and that is, man. I thought I didn't need to say that word anymore, but you know, these teams continue to surprise me sometimes.
Question of plays. I'm not sure if he had quite his cursor in the right location there. As Reko almost kills himself in the picture. That would have opened it up for 1802 straight there. Instead, only Jack now goes down. Reko solo has to heal himself back up, as well as RESQ overlooking this fight, but so are also TSC Legends, who could upset this clearly here. Probably these bullets if you come a little bit closer, but quickly and decisively. Example, UK, they wipe 1802 off the face of the grid. But now, it is TSC Legends. Do they go in? No, they do not. They continue past to look for their position and size.
Man, that was great by example, UK. The aggression is what I love. But you know what? What we can't quite conclude on the Sanhok, let's bring over to here, is revenge time. 777 will take this one this time, and 5 kills on board. And we talk about Farm being the home of Triple Sports Club, but they failed to hold this.
777. They do lose one though, because TSC Legends, they've now holed up in the same compound and they want those kills themselves, but they're slightly split. I think this will be possibly one of these situations where we just learn to accept and live to each other. And it is going to be not so happy neighbors, to be fair, Tarzan, but neighbors nonetheless when it comes to this next scene.
Yeah, I mean, it's down to the circle as well. Like, you need to think about where it could shift and what it means if it shifts to a hypothetical position, right? And that is where the IGL thinking needs to come in. That's what I mean with like pre-shift mentality. It's about these like thinking. It's the guiding questions, and soon, before you know it, when you use these more, it becomes quite natural. And I think that's where the really art of war when it comes to this game comes in. And RESQ, we talk about them, the edge style, knowing how to play these power positions one after the next, and that will be them needing to hold this one. The Bevo comes in for the crash.
Oh, but he's already knocked a bit of a shot through for the window and Hyper. And now Tick will be confirmed on the backside, though, trying to find it, but very aggressive. They're losing everything on the backside. Takes the ultimate bait. And now, unfortunately for FM, RESQ, they wipe them all clean. And born for victory undecisive. 6 kills so far, and more importantly, 3 players alive. But Arena51, they also are only going to have 3, making it 0 potentially, because now it's a 2. Translates next on the picture, and he will be drawn up to the next day. It's 777 already. Sign him off. Wizard also going to share alongside them. However, and it's this town, it is growing.
When will Arena51 learn to properly scout? They keep relying on blind crashes all the time. Like, that is... I muted myself there. That happens too much. When will they actually learn? Like, power positions, after all, and you need to at least set up. They just full send, everyone clumped together in, like, forecast together, just runs in. Like, I know that might not be entirely true, but from what's on the screen, it's happened too many times when they die extremely quickly trying to reach a spot, and something's severely wrong there if that keeps happening.
Yeah. It feels not like the last day of play. It feels more like the 6 points first day of play, right?
Yep. And painful. Very painful. And you can see, wow, a lot of teams got punished for not playing it properly. We see a very weird distribution when it comes to here. And but you know what? If you like playing hard covers, you need to adjust. And I'm excited to see how TSC Legends wants to play this. Yes, they've got hard covers, but they also are on edge. So that means it's likely that they need to move for the next phase. So I think they will come in with decent split. But Team Savage needs to act up. At least they got that 1 placement point, 1 kill point on board as well. Now, against RESQ, they may be able to do something.
Oh, they'll do something all right. They take 2 away from them. That's what they'll do, Tarzan. And Hyper, he's been solidified as now he will be the only one left. 7 kills for them. Albeit, yes, he's in the zone, but Team Savage, they're going to be rolling in that same location, that same path into safety. So Hyper, we best be ready. Is also, as we mentioned, inside the edge of this own, now as we said, town compound of all of these teams. Wizard, they do have the best opportunity. They have the angles of all of those squads rotating in. Wizard, yes, 777, not so much when it comes to information. They have to start putting those smokes down. They have to start continuing to push. You can see them doing just that. His boss on the flank, trying to be sneaky, but Joker, I think, has found him just a little bit too wide and won't be able to get the right angle through that window to assassinate. As now the vehicle steps up. TSC takes down Dragon from Wizard as RESQ fall. This might be the downfall of Wizard from TSC Legends from the opposite end. And now 777 Esports. They might have had some opening. They might have had some form of opportunity. Golden, now also Joker, left inside the building themselves. You could see again split decisions costing them. But again, split decisions for 777 costing them too. The solo falls, but at least now they're grabbing Golden. And they go upstairs to finish it off. UV spies a final player, and it will take a final player. Wizard Esports down.
Man, that is 777 Esports making it extremely clean, I have to say. They spoke up when there's still enough time, and this so that they won't get long-range sprayed or mid-range sprayed by TSC Legends, and they rotate around the side of Wizard and make sure that they clears what in front of them, buy time with those soft covers, and then clear the buildings. You know, with that patience. They didn't just charge straight through. That was what we want to see. It's also a way to keep the vehicles alive as well. If they went for more blunt crash, I believe TSC would have just sprayed down all the vehicles from the side. So they are doing extremely well when it comes to that. Yes, I think it can be cleaner, but I think we're getting too far. Like, after all, they've got those 12 kills and they are back, baby.
Oh, 777, I wanted to see it. KurdVictory, they ain't gonna be seeing that in their minds. Their eyes shut out from in front. They will also now drop. And unfortunately, down to our final 6 now. TSC Legends, how do they get out? How do 777 Esports so get out? Yes, they are high on kills, TSC Legends. Not so much, but they still also have to worry about that position because it went all the way to the west. And now in the west, example UK, they are the ones with their 4 walls. They are the ones calling home, and they are really here the deciders. They are the executioner when it comes to the chopping block of everyone around.
And you can see there's some mistakes, though. They were all in those hard cover and did not push out to make sure they can do the gatekeeping even better. So they gave away some spots, but that will be Gaijin finally on screen. TSC Vitoni won't be able to make further. Gaijin holds strong with the numbers advantage.
Gaijin's moving up from the farm. TSC, I think they got a little bit desperate. It felt a little bit dicey, that rotation in. I think they could have played it slower. They, of course, only have now the Blues on entering in. Slow and patient might have cost them an extra position here. Might have been an extra series of points because Team Savage, Yumi, has now also been dragged down to themselves. And Gaijin also need to find still some position inside. Syrax as well, because, of course, it is now only one. Finally, 2 is 777 enter in. Teams inside the zone, 3 of them aren't.
Tricky one. Like, I mean, the Team Savage seems like if they can't get an easy access to power positions, they would just play a very passive edge style that give them very low chance to fight back. And that is the problem with this squad. I think like just through tournaments, there's some, of course, like legitimate reasons as to why they didn't do well in PMNC and that they are not really always hyped out for. I think it's exactly this like versatility that we want to talk about. But after all, we've got a very good handful of teams in here. We've got some backgrounds. We've got those big games in the pocket, like through the tournament from previous tournaments or even like previous years of competitive PUBG. So this finals is going to be very spicy. I want to see a lot of good stuff and a lot of high IQ plays.
However, do Gaijin have what it takes to step up from that previous game on Miramar? Now they grab some points, we said, in their belt. Can they equip even more? Syrax also stepping inside that zone. They are coming further and closer together. They're looking for the knock. So is Prince looking for the nade though? As it will go wide. Shonu stepping up as well. First game for them, by the way, here inside this finals, of course, subbing in, trying to find some different form of play, going for the solo though. They know they're there, and I feel that also the main portion, 3 of those members, they're trying to play in the backside, and as a result, Shonu just goes down. And Syrax, Prince even using that extra elevation, grabs exactly the position, and that's the type of micro play inside the fights that you're looking for.
You know what? That is Gaijin Seraphim not making the split well for them. They could use their relative, rich, just relative high, very small bit of elevation to basically punish Syrax, but they just smoked and really showed where their own positions, and then smoked in an area where you don't really feel much pressure, and that actually gave many teams the opening and the time to go through. Saren won't be able to make it further either. 777 got a huge rotation to make, and that is just really hard for this team.
The zone does go towards them though, so there is some silver lining to this difficult match, albeit it is slim. Example UK, now is time if ever to really step up, however, as 777 also stepping up to 12 kills, Syrax now up to 8, Example up to 10. But who takes these mega points also in placements? Because there are still 5 teams alive. We're only gonna see now what will be 6 placement points for the next team to drop.
And you can see Yumi can't spot as well, actually just helping some other teams to get a few more points. I think it's just a more deserved point when it comes to these like 4 squads fighting their way through. But when it comes to that macro, I do believe that Gaijin Seraphim have been wasting some utilities and not playing the best out of the position.
Still, however, Lord now steps up. They look for those shots, but they wait. And again, because they wait, they fall. The captain of Gaijin now down 2, and Gaijin to spray in onto them. Can't push any closer. I just again wonder why Gaijin they're not stepping up, why they're not playing as a team. They're walking darn, albeit as solos in this game once more. Almost coming into their death. They feel like they are chickens to the chopping block.
Yeah, it's just a little bit painful to watch in a way. Like the very split synergy is definitely not quite there yet, and we're waiting to see. Like we see teams evolve through the game, through the tournaments, but that is not the case right now yet. Syrax up to 12 points with the full squad. That might be the second big game that we can see.
They do grab one, though. Looks to almost grab a second, but it back down. Hype barely survives. That nade is on point. And Syrax executes Logan. Gaijin Seraphim, they will be fourth. Example, have been dropped to a solo player. Still a solo here for 777 as well. As they too are all of their way forward. But can Syrax steal another game? Another big one at that. 14 points for them, and how Syrax managed to back-to-back mega games potentially is wonders to me. Boss steps up. The help of Naka secures Prince, and now to 2. 14 kills though still. Their boss stepping up. Icy, surely between these two solos, they decide who takes that third, who takes that second position. Goes for the Uzi, can spray down, but gets sprayed down upon. His boss will confirm Icy. The Naka is still there for support. Another spray on in, but boss only gives more sound cues.
Very tricky anyway, and Naka is the only one who's still got the backpack on, so that itself could be the reason of his death. Like, after all, it's a 5-point difference when it comes to that placement point. These are the basics that you need to know. As you can see, the other players all have done that, and Syrax didn't have to play as a duo, but Prince was a little bit too greedy, standing up there to shoot at what he believed to be an enemy, so 2v1v1.
Boss, another grenade on the forwards. Naka gets damaged. Tickled down by the edge of the blue. Phase 9 only now going to continue to close, and this is where the solos, they step up where they have to play, but Naka is already down, already executed away, and Syrax, they close their 15th kill of this game. It's going to be a repeat, potentially another 30-pointer for them if they can only take in total this game. Boss has been spotted, barely steps up, barely now finds it, a little bit of damage, not going to be enough. Syrax, a second game away. Cypher gained 8 kills through for them. Cable stepping up with 3. Rightly so, as he stepped up with 8 in Miramar. Syrax, a dominant performance, and I think very safe to say by this point here, after Miramar, after this one, they are our leaders after day one.
Man, I almost feel like Syrax way of playing the game has been stolen away by some of these teams, like through the tournament. It's only until these last 2 games that we see their true colors. And you know what, like, we talk about hype house effect, yes, but out of all the teams, they were also the team that we know that can still hold it together. Like, in some disappointing games, they can bounce back, and they are still able to get some points. That's a key. Like, when we see some top spots, like squads, I would say, like getting a 60-70 point day, they will occasionally they have those 10-point days, but Syrax never that team. They're always at least 20 something, right? So, man, what a day so far. First one out of 4. Let's go and look at that leaderboard, because I think Syrax might have stolen that top spot.
Oh yeah, they have 79 points, Tarzan. TSC though, no surprise to see them on top, as well as 777 and RESQ below them. Also, equally having, I think, a little bit of dodgy days, but they've still got points. They're still up there nonetheless. Team 1802 as well also there. I'm actually very impressed, however, by the side of KurdVictory. They are also up there, because I did expect it to be up there, considering, of course, they were one of those teams that struggled coming in on that last day, but all credit to them. They do have some points there as well. However, it is almost sad to say, because there is still a gap, there is still almost literally a 50-point gap between them and Syrax, and because there is only 1 point, or there only is only 1 placement, it gets you that PMPL spot. But as a result, Syrax have created a very, very healthy chance for them.
I mean, it's insane, right? We talk about maybe an 11 point per game average, and they are delivering almost 20 so far. But we don't want to hype them up for the wrong thing. Like, they've got an advantage today. Like, sometimes we see teams going over, like, after a huge day to play very disrespectfully. True. I don't think Syrax is one of those teams. I feel like they know that, like, just based off like personality or whatnot, they can just use that like to their advantage. So, well, like, we can no longer come in with a like clean sheet. Everything stacks up from now on, and one of these 16 teams will represent us in that PMPL. Pretty crazy to think about it.
Though, of course, because to be fair, Tarzan, Syrax, they look pretty darn good, but also they have to stay consistent. That is the most important thing here coming through in these 4 days. Is that, yes, as you said, rightly so, they come through from the group stage, they come now into the finals. The biggest day win that we've seen so far in the PMCO UK. But they have to continue. They have to be able to fight all through the rest of this week if they want that chance. And there is 15 other teams also hungry for that chance as well. We've seen upsets, we've seen crazy days, and I'm expecting more to stick with us. Same time, same place tomorrow. Of course, myself and Tarzan with you all week long.